never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do, so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move, so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Good evening and welcome to episode 26 of Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer. As the crisis on the border continues to unfold, we are seeing the immense failure of our elected officials on full display once again. This time around, it is originating in the United States Senate, which just produced an embarrassingly bad bipartisan bill to address the situation at the border. And by bipartisan, it is obviously a joke because let's stop pretending like we actually have two parties in this country. It's one big uniparty, and clearly we the people were not invited to their party. What is most frustrating about this fake border bill is the fact that it has the support of several Senate Republicans under Mitch McConnell, despite being absolutely terrible. While we have come to expect garbage legislation designed to destroy this country from the left, it is always deeply disappointing to see so-called Republicans producing the same. This really shouldn't come as a surprise, though. If you have been watching my show for the last few months, you'll know that I regularly call out the GOP for their frequent America Last positions and their anemic resistance to the left. The only silver lining in this case is that at least House Republicans have so far, as of today, refused to support this bill. At least they say so. And now even Mitch McConnell has been forced to admit that this bill is dead on arrival. Regardless of that fact, though, it is emblematic of the failures of the Republican Party and our government at large. The problem of immigration has been a major issue for decades. Our border has been plagued by a steady flow of criminal invaders since the Reagan administration, growing steadily worse as the years have gone on. Despite countless opportunities to secure the border since then, our government has failed to act. The reasons for this are numerous. Politicians in D.C. would rather play politics than actually fix our issues. Their campaigns are funded by major corporations who want them to keep the tap of cheap labor flowing. They would rather have a poor underclass of immigrant voters who they can control rather than traditional patriotic Americans. This has produced a Congress that is totally apathetic to what has been happening. It is not their communities that get destroyed by an invasion of foreigners because they live in fancy gated communities. It is not their family who gets affected as public schools crumble under the weight of trying to support so many non-English speaking children because their kids all go to private school. It is not their jobs that get taken by criminal illegal aliens who are willing to work for pennies on the dollar. You see, our politicians get to continue living a corrupt, greedy version of the American dream, while the rest of us must settle for the new American nightmare. So what exactly about this specific border bill is so horrible? Well, it essentially makes the problem worse, rather than better, and it ties the hands of officials and future administrations to actually fix the issue at hand. For starters, the bill codifies catch and release, which is the insane practice of releasing illegal aliens into the United States despite having apprehended them at the border or even in person in our communities. Oftentimes you see illegals get arrested and then they are literally released back into the public. This is what just happened in New York City when illegal aliens beat the crap out of two NYPD officers and then they were released and given bus tickets and now nobody knows where they are. Catch and release. They are given a court date to have a hearing, but few ever show up. And you never hear from them ever again because, well, no one knows who they are, so why the hell would they even bother showing up to be held accountable once they're in this country? It also increases the amount of green cards that are being given out, an issue which we discussed last week on Loomer Unleashed that often flies under the radar, but is just as damaging to the country. The bill provides absolutely no funding to build the wall or to fortify the border in any way, something which Texas has shown at Eagle Pass. It also doesn't provide a legal mechanism to deport the millions of illegal aliens who have already made it into the country. Even worse, it sets the limit to trigger a border emergency, right? As if this isn't already an emergency. I mean, what is it going to take for these people to see that this is an emergency? I mean, let's be honest, this is absolutely insane. It's driving me crazy watching this on a daily basis. They want to then have limits to trigger that emergency, okay, at a rate that they think is acceptable. 5,000 per day. So, for example, the border can only be shut down if an average of 5,000 illegals cross the border every single day for 7 days, which means that 35,000 illegals, okay, this is what they want, 35,000 people, which is a medium-sized town's worth of illegal aliens, have to come through our border and into our country before the United States government can take action. This is actually written in the bill. I mean, why not take action on number one? Why wait for 35,000? Right? This just doesn't make any sense. And if that doesn't sound retarded enough, it gets even worse. The bill actually allows for the president or the illegitimate occupant of the White House, right? That's Joe Biden, to reopen the border at his discretion. In other words, Joe Biden, who couldn't care less about the immigration problem and doesn't even know where he is half the time, can simply undo this emergency order with the wave of his hand and let even more illegals in. Additionally, the bill is essentially a handout to Ukraine and other money pits that have absolutely nothing to do with immigration and securing our border. The failed cause of Ukraine will be cashing another $60 billion check from this. Israel is going to receive a whopping $30 billion. And guess how much we get, right? Us peasants here in the United States. The United States is only going to get $20 billion of our own money. And much of that isn't being diverted to where it actually needs to be. In fact, it's going towards processing fees associated with these illegals. So you can't even say that that money is for Americans because it's going towards illegals. To put this into perspective for you, Ukraine is getting more money from this one bill, $60 billion, okay, than the entire 2024 budget for the United States Marine Corps, which has a budget of about $53.2 billion. This is shameful. We should be embarrassed as a country. In fact, only 17% of the funds allocated in this bill would actually go towards securing the border. At what point was our nation's border security contingent on helping Ukraine or any other foreign country for that matter? Can someone please answer that question for me? Should we not be focused on saving our own nation from what has become a veritable invasion from the third world? Why should we have to check boxes about helping the world and others before we can be allowed to help ourselves? That is ultimately the issue and the big question at hand here. We have a Congress and an illegitimate president, right, an occupant, as I like to call him, who completely refused to enforce the laws of the land. They have stood idly by while this nation has been bled dry and replaced and invaded by foreigners. Worse, many of them have actively supported this all along the way. They are responsible for every single drunk illegal alien who has killed an American citizen. They are responsible for the wage stagnation that has eroded the middle class to the point of non-existence. They are responsible for our society and our culture deteriorating in almost every metric over the past few decades. These people in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, are traitors. They are traitors to the American people in every sense of the word. In fact, if you were to look up the word traitor in the Webster Dictionary, you would see a picture of the United States Congress. This insulting sorry excuse for an immigration bill is just further proof of how bad the situation is in our country. We cannot even fix an issue that is staring us right in the face without getting pushback from every neocon and progressive in D.C. Every common sense American knows that the border is a national disgrace. Foreign leaders around the world know that our border is a disgrace. They are laughing at us. It makes us look like total idiots on the national and international stage. It is compromising our national security every day as Islamic terrorists, cartel members, and Chinese communist spies casually just stroll and walk right into our country. But worst of all, this sorry excuse of a bill totally degrades the meaning of what it actually means to be an American citizen. It is well past time for conservatives to draw a line in the sand on this issue. We cannot give another inch of ground up. Enough with the compromises, with the backroom deals, with the ineffective laws. We have to get serious about the future of this nation and its security. We need to have laws that actually have teeth to get control of the border, rein in the illegals, and mass deport millions of people who have no business being here. We also need to ban birthright citizenship, like Donald Trump said, and put an end to the toxic trend of illegals giving birth to their anchor babies on our soil here in the United States with the expectation of government handouts until that child, or even worse, plural, their children, is or are 18 years old. It's unacceptable. It needs to stop. We do not have time to be polite or to make concessions. We need our lawmakers to act on this issue now, and we need them to be strong and unwavering, or we are going to truly be facing the end of this nation.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist by the name of Laura, of America's like are probably
chained herself.
She chained herself.
so much for tuning in to episode 26 of Loomer Unleashed. It's so great to be joined by all of you tonight. We are live right now, so please be sure that you share this link. We have so much to cover. Today was an insane day with so much news over the weekend with these stupid Republicans, right? Dropping their fake border bill. We have a lot to talk about. This is crisis after crisis. It's like it's just a never-ending fire hose of negative news about the inability of our lawmakers to secure our border and protect us. So there's a lot, right? About 30 minutes or so ago, the House Republicans, of course, yet again failed to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary. So we have a lot to go through tonight. There's a lot of ground to cover. Some of you, I don't know how you wouldn't have been bombarded by the news of this border bill or the outrage of people losing their minds about this fake border bill on social media over the weekend. But if you are not aware of it, we're going to break it down for you tonight, and we're going to explain this bipartisan bill that was the subject of tonight's monologue and all of the things in there that are it's just proof of gaslighting. This is not a border bill. This is a supplemental aid package to Ukraine, to Israel, to pretty much everybody else except us, the American people, and our border. So we're going to go through that. We have amazing guests tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be joined by the former ICE director under President Trump, Tom Homan. The guy is brilliant. You've seen videos of him squaring off with AOC before. I mean, this man is someone that you're going to want to listen to. He knows what he's talking about. He is an expert, of course. You would expect nothing less from somebody who oversaw ICE under President Trump's administration. And then in the second hour of the show at 10 o'clock, we are going to be joined by Michael Yon, who is a combat correspondent and also an immigration expert. So both of these men have a lot of insight. We're going to be breaking down the invasion and also, too, their thoughts on this fake border bill. Some breaking news, as I just mentioned to you, okay? Breaking impeachment vote against Mayorkas fails in tie vote. Here are the three Republicans who voted to reward lawbreaking. So look, every single time the Republicans have control, whether they have control of the House, the Senate, or like we did when Trump was in the White House the first 2 years, the House, the Senate, and the White House, the Republicans always fail to deliver. We have the majority right now. There is literally no excuse why Mayorkas shouldn't have been impeached. But we're going to play the video for you. We're going to play the video for you, and you're going to see it firsthand. You're going to watch right now. You're going to see what happens. You're going to see what happens when Republicans take a vote to impeach and just how they can't win anything. These Republicans can't do anything right. So go ahead and play this clip.
On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 216. The resolution is not adopted.
Unbelievable. Can we just play that one more time? Can we just talk about how absolutely passive and pacifist Mike Johnson is? Like, oh, well, I guess it's just another day in Washington today. No big deal. We're just being invaded. And, I mean, God, could the guy, actually try to show some passion for once in his life or actually try to be pissed off? I don't know. I don't want my representatives to be passive. I don't want them to be pacifists. It's time for people to start getting aggressive. I want to go back to the days of when representatives would duel each other in Congress, okay? That's what I want to see. I want to see our lawmakers dueling. That's the kind of passion I want to see from our lawmakers right now because the country is being destroyed. But just look at how passive and how much of a pacifist Mike Johnson is. Play the clip one more time. It's just so weak. It's gross.
On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 216. The resolution is not adopted.
Oh, well, I'm just going to let the Democrats, he's the Speaker of the House with the gavel, tell those disgusting Democrats to shut their mouth. I mean, it really is disgraceful to watch these Democrats cheering, woo! Where's the invasion? Yeah, more illegal aliens! Woo! More illegals are coming into the country. I mean, what are they cheering for exactly? What are they cheering for? They're cheering for the destruction of our country, and Mike Johnson's just like, well, boo. Business as usual. Well. The guy doesn't actually show any authority. It's hard for Republicans like myself to have any respect for Mike Johnson. So imagine, why would anybody in Congress respect this guy, his fellow colleagues, when he just has absolutely no control? If I was Speaker of the House, you wouldn't have Democrats cheering and screaming at all. You wouldn't have anybody cheering and screaming at all except the American people. So I just think that it's really embarrassing, and it just goes to show you how weak he is, and it goes to show everybody how weak our country is under the current leadership. Let's go through this article. Also, if you want to pull up my Twitter, you can follow me on X if you are not already doing so. Go to Twitter, Laura Loomer. I want to show you the Republican traitors that voted against impeaching Mayorkas so that you can see who's a traitor in our country. Okay, there you go. Expand that. House GOP just failed to impeach DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, even when they get the majority, okay? Republicans always fail to deliver. These are Republican traitors who voted no. They should all be removed from Congress. They are essentially Democrats. Ken Buck, this guy doesn't give a damn. Why would he? He's retiring. He's a selfish guy. The guy who's running, or he was running in Colorado. So he's literally just voting with the Democrats on his way out because he doesn't care. He's not running. So how selfish, right? To lie to your constituents, to say that you're a Republican, and then to basically just screw everybody on your way out. So Tom McClintock represents California 05. Ken Buck, Colorado, 04. So again, that seat is now going to be open. I know that Lauren Boebert, after polling showed that she wasn't going to be able to beat the highly funded Democrat running against her in her district, she decided to switch over to Ken Buck's district. And then the straw poll the other day embarrassingly showed she's polling at 5% there. So that's not really going to go so well for her. Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, 08. And then Blake Moore, Utah, Congressional District 1. Light a fire under the asses of all of these traitors. They should have their phones called nonstop. They should be removed from Congress. This is absolutely an abomination. We could have actually had Mayorkas removed. But nope, we are never going to get anything we want. We can't have nice things when Republicans are in control, unless Trump's at the top of the ticket, because Republicans are incapable of leading without Trump at the top. It is so embarrassing. It is just so disgusting to see how weak these people are. And look, the Democrats are totally going to take back control of the House. I've said this. People get really mad at me for saying it. They think I'm mean. I don't really care. I'm not going to lie to people. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to my followers and my viewers. I am not going to lie to people to make them feel better about themselves. We are going to lose the House probably before the November election, especially with the special election coming up in New York, with the open seat for George Santos, New York 3, after Republicans sheepishly and foolishly ousted Santos. Now we have this African migrant whose allegiance is to Israel named Mazi Pilip, who's married to a Ukrainian who has all these very suspicious business dealings, and she claims to be a Republican, but she's actually a registered Democrat, as I've exposed. You can read the article on my website, loomered.com. There she is, Mazi for Congress. So the lady is literally still registered as a Democrat. And I'm not saying she's a Democrat like I say about Nikki Haley just because she takes Democrat money. No, this woman is actually still registered as a Democrat. You can go to loomered.com and you can actually see the article there on my website. Should be up there. Maybe you have to go back a bit to the older entry site. We constantly are updating the site. Either way, you'll be able to watch it. We also have a clip of her admitting that she is a Democrat. We'll play that. It's on my Twitter. So here we go. Well, we might as well talk about this because there's a lot of news with Ronna Romney, and there's a lot of new developments. A little too late, in my opinion, but we're going to get into that as well. So GOP chairwoman Ronna Romney spending limited RNC funds on helping registered Democrat Mazi Melissa Pilip run as a Republican in New York 3 special election. So the FEC reports just came out the other day, less than 5 days ago. And what did these FEC reports reveal? Well, the FEC reports revealed that the RNC is broke. Okay, we're on the verge of bankruptcy because Ronna Romney can't stop injecting her face with fillers. She cannot stop going shopping at Neiman Marcus, and she cannot stop taking private jets and riding around on her fat ass in limousines on our dime. That's just the reality of the situation. So we're broke. We don't have enough money to fund a presidential election in 2024. They have not left enough money for Donald Trump, let alone all the other Republicans that are running for re-election in our country. And she doesn't really care. We have a serious money problem, okay? Look you can clearly tell it is all going to her face. Can we get a before and after of what this woman used to look like? I'm not against plastic surgery, okay? I've been open. I have had a nose job. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. Everybody knows from reading my book, right? I had a deviated septum several years ago. I had to get my nose done. And so I'm not against it. I'm not against Botox. I'm not against any of that stuff. But pay for it on your own dime. I don't really care if people want to get plastic surgery. But when I'm looking at FEC reports or reports breaking down the spending of the RNC, and it says spa day, $80,000 personal clothing expenses for Ronna Romney, that's a problem. You shouldn't be going to the spa on our dime. So, I mean, look, every time you see her, she just looks different, right? I mean, I don't know if we could see that. Just exit out a Raw story. You could probably, if you just go to Google, right? Just click on some of the images. Let's just look at some of the images, right? I mean, look. Her face looks different there. Scroll down. Look at there. That one. See, before. Look at that one right there in the middle. This, that one. Yep, look at that. Holy hell. Look at that image of her compared to the one on the other bottom. So, okay, before, let's go back up. I just saw one that had her face really puffed out. This one right here. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, look. She got a glow up. Right? I'm all for the glow up, but not on our dime. You want to go get a glow up? That's great. Everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to feel pretty. Everybody wants to feel attractive. I don't really care if people want to inject themselves or get work done. I'm not against it, but I am against people draining the GOP of resources so that they can, live the high life. And she's getting paid. I mean, her salary has increased 3 times the amount as it was when she first became the GOP chairwoman. You can just see the lady is clearly not spending your money on the right things. Let's see what the chat has to say. I'm not trying to be a mean girl. Like I said, I'm not a hypocrite either. So people want to do that, do it on their own time. Let's see what the chat has to say. Let's go to chat. Scroll up a bit. I think we have some comments. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we need to I think that the RNC is deserving of the type of facelift that Ronna Romney gave herself. Okay? Ronna Romney wants to get a facelift. Well, I want the RNC to have a facelift. It's time for the RNC to get a facelift. We need to transform the party if we are going to transform this country. And I don't really see how Republicans expect to win unless we expect to hold this woman accountable. And it's been reported, so it's not like I'm sharing private information, right? Cat's out of the bag. So President Trump had a private meeting with Ronna Romney at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. And, I knew about this meeting, and now people know about this meeting, and it's out there. People know. People now know about this meeting that took place. And President Trump had an interview on Newsmax last night with Rob Schmitt, and Rob Schmitt asked him point blank about Ronna Romney. And pretty much during this interview, I think we have the clip too. We can find it. We can pull it up. He admits that Ronna Romney knows that her time is up. And coincidentally, okay, just one day after this meeting with Ronna Romney at Mar-a-Lago with Trump, her chief of staff is announcing that he's resigning. So today that news came. And of course, they're all trying to leave because there's no more money anymore. They bankrupted the party. So party's up, And Trump knows that there needs to be changes. Actually, before coming on live, it's probably paywalled, so we're not going to show it. We could just show you the actual title. But about 5 minutes before I went live tonight, the New York Times actually just came out with a big report about this. And so Top story on the New York Times right now. Trump says Ronna McDaniel. I don't know why everyone calls her Ronna McDaniel. It's Ronna Romney. That's her real name. She used the term McDaniel. Actually, Trump asked her to switch her name. I wrote about this in my book behind me, Loomered, How I Became the Most Banned Woman in the World. If you want to read it, go to Google right now and type this in and you will see for yourself. Go to Google. Her name is Ronna Romney. Trump asked her to change her name. So I'm sick of people calling her Ronna McDaniel. So look at this article. Look, Trump asked RNC chairwoman to stop using Romney and to call herself McDaniel. This is from 2017. So she did it. I mean, at least she did it, right? She faked it till she made it. But she will always be a Romney. It's in her DNA. Once a Romney, always a Romney. There's no running from that. Even Trump told her, you got to drop the Romney. Your name's Ronna McDaniel now, if you're going to work for me. Trump says Ronna McDaniel knows she should step down as RNC chair. Okay, here we go. We have the article. So scroll up so people can see that. This just came out. You can see the former, I don't know why they call him former. His name is President Trump. Also signaled that he could call for changes at the Republican National Committee soon after the South Carolina primary. So essentially what's going to happen is, as I reported, I was the first to scoop this the other day, Ronna Romney is resigning. And this was discussed at the RNC winter meeting. It was. I got the scoop. As you know, I never get credit for anything that I actually report, so you're never going to see it, right? But days ago, I reported this. If you go to X, you'll type it in and you can see that you can scroll down more if you're following it on X. Let's see. We'll find it. But I broke the story days ago about how she was going to be resigning. And she's waiting until the RNC convention to fully be ousted. And there was discussion at the RNC winter meeting about who should replace her. And there's a few names that have floated around. Obviously, Jessica Patterson, who is the GOP chair in California, who is horrible. She can absolutely never be allowed to be the chairwoman of the GOP, the RNC. I'm not going to allow for that. I will burn my Republican registration card the day that happens. I'm going to burn it anyway the day after I vote for Trump in the Florida primary because I am sick of these losers. I only support Trump. I only like Trump. People say, Laura, do you hate everybody beside Trump and yourself? And I say, yes, I hate everybody except Trump because everybody else sucks. And it's just the truth. I even told President Trump that, I said it to him one time. I'm not going to divulge, the contents of my private conversations with the president, but he once asked me, he said, Laura, who do you like? And I said, I hate everybody except you. So he laughed. He thought it was funny. But I told him, I literally said, I hate to say it, President Trump, but I only love you. I only love you. I hate everybody else. So whatever. It's the truth. There's just none of these people elected in office right now are doing anything for anybody. They are selfishly helping themselves and they are screwing us over. Let's scroll down on this New York Times article. Scroll down some more. So let's read it. President Trump on Monday suggested that Ronna McDaniel, her name is Ronna Romney, should leave her post as chairwoman of the Republican National Committee. In a sit-down interview with the right-wing news network Newsmax, this was with Rob Schmidt, or as I like to call him Ken, you know what Rob Schmidt looks like, right? He's that really good-looking guy that works at Newsmax. He looks like a Ken doll, in my opinion. Let's get a photo of him. Rob Schmidt, Newsmax. You pull up a photo. I call him Ken. He just kind of looks like Ken. He used to work for Fox News. We have other photos of him too. Go back. Let's see. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good photo. So anyway, a lot of you may have known him as the really good-looking guy that used to work for Fox News and now works for Newsmax. Anyway, let's go back to what I was saying before. I don't really give out compliments, but I'll give Rob Schmidt a compliment. So he has this interview with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And then, Schmidt asks him, he goes, so what about Ronna McDaniel? What's going to happen? What's going on? And the article continues, Mr. Trump was asked whether McDaniel, whom he first chose to lead the party in 2017, should step aside given the party's lackluster fundraising and electoral results in recent years. Quote, well, I think she knows that, Mr. Trump answered. I think she understands that. And that it's time for her to go. So Trump is trying to be very gracious. I'm surprised, because usually Trump is usually all about taking the gloves off. And he's not exactly very, I'm not going to say he's not gracious, but why should he be, right? I like when President Trump has dragon energy, when he just burns everything down and when he takes the gloves off and he just goes absolutely vicious. I love a vicious Trump. And so I don't know why he's being reserved when it comes to Ronna. She's certainly not worthy of a restrained Donald Trump. But, you got Loomer unleashed and then you got Trump unleashed. I think that we can all agree that we love Trump when he's completely unleashed. A spokeswoman for the committee did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Tuesday, but Miss McDaniel, I don't know why they call her McDaniel. It's Romney. It's so weird to me. Her name is literally Ronna Romney. They asked her to change her name because they were so embarrassed by the fact that she's Mitt Romney's niece, okay? Has let it be known. I showed you the article. Trump was just not going to have it. Let it be known that she would step aside if the Republican nominee preferred. Well, I think we all prefer it, right? Does this woman know how to read between the lines? I mean, Trump is saying it, okay? We all want you to step aside, Ronna. It's time for you to go. Just leave. Resign. I don't know what she's waiting for. The exchange aired the same day that the president met with Romney at Mar-a-Lago, his members-only club in Florida, according to Politico. It came after the recent disclosure that the committee had recorded its weakest cash position in years, only $8 million. It's actually less than $8 million. It's about $7 million when you look at all the debt. With 1.8, they're being so generous. It's over $2 million in debt. I don't know why they're trying to make these numbers seem better than they are. It's less than $7 million. Check the numbers yourself. Mr. Trump signaled in a social media post on Monday that he could usher in changes at the National Committee in the next few weeks. Yeah, I hope so, because it is a mess. Ronna is now the head of the RNC, and I'll be making a decision the day after the South Carolina primary as to my recommendations for RNC growth, Trump wrote, calling McDaniel a friend. Again, he's being very nice. He doesn't need to be, though, but he's being professional. He's being nice. He's being nice, but there is no reason to be nice to Ronna Romney. She has royally screwed Donald Trump as far as I'm concerned. We all know South Carolina is going to hold their primary on February 24th. Scroll down some more. So, let's see. That came out. Go up. Scroll up a bit more. Is that the one that came out? No, that's not the one that came out today. There was another one that just came out a couple hours ago. I just retweeted it. Let's see. So that's the one that came out this morning. Here's another one too. Put this in the chat. Again, we are live right now, so please be sure that you repost this link. All right, I'm posting it now for people to follow along. We'll get that one pulled up. But she's going to be stepping down. So we have about 15 more minutes or so. Let's see if we can get that one up on the screen. There are two. So this was the one that came out this morning, and then here's the one that came out about an hour or so ago. Let's get that positioned. All right, so she plans to step down. Same photo. Donald Trump is likely to back an election. They say election denier. Michael Whatley is the head of the North Carolina GOP to replace her. Okay, so scroll down. So what do you have? Maggie Haberman, Shade Goldmacher, Jonathan Swan, Annie Carney. I guess they have to write articles 4 at a time. I like to call it a New York Times gangbang, right? That's what I like to call it because they never just want to do a story together, right? They come up. This is what they did when they did their really nasty hit piece against me when Trump wanted to hire me, right? I call it getting gangbanged by the New York Times. That's what they do, right? It's, hello. Oh, it's thanks for waking me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, hi, who is this? Yeah, hello, this is Jonathan Swan of the New York Times and Maggie Haberman. I mean, God, you guys have to wake me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, let alone call me together to ruin my day and try to ruin my career? Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, scroll down. Okay, so Mr. Trump likes, where's that? Mr. Whatley, for one overwhelming reason, according to people who have discussed him with the president, he is the stop the steal guy, as one of the people described him. He endorses, this is what the New York Times is saying, quote, he endorses Trump's false claims about mass voter fraud, and Mr. Trump believes he did a good job delivering North Carolina, a swing state, to him. First of all, it's not a false claim. This is not a false claim. There's issues. Look, do I think that Mr. Whatley is the best decision? No, I don't. I've previously reported that Mr. Whatley had been appointed as a general counsel for the RNC, even though his law license wasn't even active at the time. I think there are some legitimate concerns. I've reported on this in the past. I'm sure he's a very nice man. I don't know. Never met him. But is he the best option to be RNC chair? I don't really think so. I don't really like anybody, though, like I said. So I think that there's issues with everybody. But we do need to take all of this into consideration because we have 9 months left. And again, this can't be about people's feelings. Believing that the election was stolen isn't enough to be the RNC chair. So scroll down. You can scroll down some more. I know they mentioned me in this article somewhere. Scroll down some more. Keep going. All right. A lobbying campaign against Mr. Whatley as McDaniel's replacement has begun even before her departure was official, with some RNC members saying another pick could be a smoother choice for Trump. Should Trump pick a new male chairman, the role of co-chairwoman would be the open up. Several prominent Republican activists have already begun lobbying over that potential slot. For instance, Laura Loomer, a far-right activist who supports Mr. Trump, is publicly opposing Jessica Patterson, the chair of the California Republican Party, for that position. Yeah, of course I'm going to be opposing Jessica Patterson because Jessica Patterson is a McCarthy sycophant and a McCarthy lapdog. And Jessica Patterson, if you recall, is the same woman that tried to screw Donald Trump out of the California delegates when they tried to change the rules. And then I had to break a story on 4th of July and create my own fireworks and then go out to California and try to stop this steal by myself. So luckily, right, we were able to do that. And President Trump, of course, had even posted that if it wasn't for me and my reporting, they probably would have stolen the nomination from him out of California. So why would we want Jessica Patterson to be the chairwoman, the co-chairwoman of the RNC when she has shown herself to be disloyal? I mean, don't even get me started. They just came out with a list of the delegates for Trump out of California. And I don't know. Apparently, some of these, look, all I'm going to say, okay, look, I love President Trump. But at the same time, some of these people that are involved in the vetting of delegates, I don't know, just like Jessica Patterson, what her deal is, but we just have different standards of what it means to do vetting. Okay, so when I do a vetting of somebody or I do a deep dive, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at their kids. I'm looking at their husband. I'm looking at their wife. I am looking at everything. Okay, I'm doing a strip search of them electronically. Apparently, that's a foreign concept. That's a foreign concept to a lot of these people that are doing the vetting. So I personally think that everybody needs to get the Loomer digital strip search treatment if they want to get anywhere near President Donald Trump. I have offered to volunteer to do that, to give people these digital strip searches to protect our president and to, just protect our country. But sadly, right, it doesn't look like the Republican Party really wants to listen. So I am just going to prevent myself from saying what I'm going to say next, from getting myself into a whirlwind of trouble, because sometimes you just have to exercise self-restraint. But I think that it's pretty evident to everybody that my standards of vetting are a lot different than some of these other people's standards of vetting. And I think my standards are a lot better. I'll just say that because, well, if other people's standards were better for vetting, right, we wouldn't have had the issue with the California GOP trying to rob Donald Trump, right? We wouldn't have had these issues because a lot of these people are just snakes. They are not good people. They are trying to hurt President Trump, and I don't really care who that offends. I think that I'm very good at what I do, and I go out of my way above and beyond to try to protect President Trump. And some people think that my tactics are aggressive, but I think that we need to be aggressive or else we're going to lose our country. So with that, we are about 10 minutes away. You can read that article as well. It's on the New York Times. I'll tweet it later so that you guys can watch it. But the title of it, one more time. Let's see. Let's go back up. People can see that one more time. Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman, plans to step down. So that's good news. That's really great. And I'm really glad that they finally didn't call me a conspiracy theorist or something really nasty, like which is what they always call me. They love calling me names, these people over at the New York Times. They love calling me anti-Muslim, conspiracy theorist, but you know what? I will take, what did they call me for the first time tonight? That was nice. I'll take it. So let's scroll down. What did they say? Scroll all the way down to the bottom. Usually they just say the nastiest things about me. This is a new one. Oh, right there. A far-right activist. See, I don't mind being called a far-right activist. I'm far-right because I'm always right? So that's what it means to be far-right, is when you're so right, you're so much more right than other people that you are far-right, because I'm always ahead of the curve, right? So as long as they're not calling me a conspiracy theorist or anti-Muslim bigot, we're all good. You know, it's nice to not be called a white supremacist for once. So in 7 minutes or so, we're going to be joined by Tom Homan. That's going to be very exciting, and it's going to be really great to get his feedback. He also has an organization now that he's launched. He's the CEO of a group called Border 911. But in the meantime, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor. You know, look, I wouldn't be able to do all these great shows, and I wouldn't be able to speak the way I speak, unleashed, uncensored, just completely uncontrollable. If it wasn't for being on Rumble, a free speech platform, and also having my sponsors. And so I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's show, Field of Greens. So Field of Greens is a really great product, okay? I keep it with me. In fact, I have it here in my studio with me as well, and I drink it before my show. Sometimes I drink it after the show. I bring it with me when I travel, and it's just a really great product in general. And I think that one of the things that people are generally very focused on going into the new year is their New Year's resolutions. I'm really not a big fan of resolutions. I think that life is always about, you know, you have to find balance. Am I very good at finding balance in my own life? Probably not. You know, I think that's pretty obvious to people, though, that I'm not very balanced in the sense that I probably work too much. I probably should take better care of myself and probably need to sleep more. And, you know, I probably need to do a lot of other things, right? I'm a bit of a workaholic, but the first step to admitting you have a problem, well, the first step to, I guess, addressing your problem is admitting you have a problem. And I definitely am a bit of a workaholic. So I will admit my problems. But one of the key things to being healthier is your nutrition. And it's sometimes really hard to cook. It's sometimes really hard to find the time to go grocery shopping. And I understand it's not easy. I get it, right? Because I'm a really busy person too. But that's why I love Field of Greens. Better nutrition is a key to health and longevity, and a healthy diet could even help you avoid health risks that run in your family. Field of Greens is my healthy superfruit and vegetable habit. It's the only fruit and vegetable product that literally promises a better health. So at your next checkup with your doctor, you'll notice your improved health. You're really going to see results or your money back. That's what they guarantee as a company. So do your vitamins or green drinks promise better health? No, but Field of Greens does. Each superfruit and vegetable in Field of Greens was doctor selected for a specific health benefit. Some support your heart, lungs, and kidneys. Others support metabolism for healthy energy and weight loss. A lot of you may have noticed that I've lost a lot of weight. And while I had lost a lot of weight before taking Field of Greens too, I do think that drinking it makes me feel satiated, and it also has helped me with weight management. I do believe that Field of Greens has helped me keep my weight off because instead of eating a super heavy meal or drinking, you know, a super high calorie smoothie, because look, let's be honest, you go to Smoothie King and you go get a smoothie, you're going to be drinking 700 calories. This is just a powder that you put a scoop of in a bottle of water or a cup of water. You stir it around, 10 calories, okay? So if you want to get 15% off your first order and, you know, kick off your year healthier and also just either maintain your weight or, I don't know, maybe you just want to have a refreshing drink. Get 15% off your order today by going to fieldofgreens.com. That's fieldofgreens.com and use promo code Loomer. That's promo code Loomer at fieldofgreens.com for up to 15% off. They have all different types of flavors. As you can see, I have a bunch of the different flavors. I like a lot of them. This is, I just got a new order in too. So they have all types of flavors, and I think that you'll really enjoy it. I certainly enjoy it. Gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian. They have strawberry lemonade, lemon lime. They have all types of different products as well. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code Loomer. They have the shakers. They have the bundles, all types of products. So definitely sign up for Field of Greens, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know too. I see a lot of you in the chat say that you take Field of Greens too and you enjoy it. So if you drink Field of Greens, let me know how you're enjoying it, because I enjoy it. Full servings of vegetables, full serving of fruit, antioxidant power, boosted immunity. I like taking this too in the morning when I have to travel on an airplane, or I just got back from Iowa and New Hampshire, and obviously I'm not really used to the cold weather. So I had some Field of Greens and I brought it with me, and it's very quick. Doesn't matter where you are. You could have it in a backpack. You could have it in a carry-on. You could even take it out and put it in a purse if you don't want to have a bulky container with you. I sometimes get a little plastic bag and I'll put some scoops in there, and I just get like a plastic spoon. And then what I'll do is I'll bring a plastic cup with me, and then I'll pour a bottle of water in, and then take a spoonful or 2 spoonfuls and spin it around and chug it. It's that easy. And it actually makes you feel full. You're not going to want to eat after it. 10 calories. Try it out. All right, so we are about to have Tom Homan come on. Tom Homan, of course, former ICE director under President Trump. I think he's here now. Do we have Tom? I believe we do.
I am here. How you doing?
Oh, we're getting him connected right now. Let's see. Do we have Tom? All right. Mr. Homan, it is such a pleasure and an honor to have you here. You are an icon, and honestly, I think that you are an American hero. So it really is a pleasure to have you on the show. I know that I reached out to you about a month or so ago and talked about getting you on. You're a very busy man, and the perfect guest right now to have on the show to talk about this this invasion and also this ridiculous border bill that we just saw come out of the Senate. So thank you so much for joining me tonight on Loomer Unleashed. How are you? How have you been doing?
I'm busier than hell. I mean, I've been up on the hill a lot the last couple of weeks. I've been pushing border 911 across the country. And you're right, the bill is a terrible bill. Terrible bill, worse than I thought it would be. So we got to make sure that goes nowheres.
Yeah. Tell people a little bit about Border 911 before we get into talking about your thoughts on the bill and the invasion, because you've been doing a lot of great work. Obviously, Trump's not in the White House right now. You did a lot of amazing work as ICE director, keeping Americans safe, closing our border, keeping dangerous criminals and terrorists out of our country, and explain to our viewers really the concept behind Border 911 and what your mission is as an organization.
Well, Border 911 is something I started a few months ago. It's a nonprofit, so no one's making any money at it. But I brought a team of border experts, I think the best in the world, because many of us work for the Trump administration. We created the most secure border in my lifetime. I have Mark Morgan, who's the CBP commissioner under President Trump, Customs and Border Protection. I got Rodney Scott, who's the chief patrol agent under President Trump, and a short time under President Biden until they get, Rodney retired because he couldn't handle what this administration was doing. I got Jason Jones, who's a Newsmax border consultant, border correspondent. He's a retired Texas DPS captain of the intelligence division. He studied the criminal cartels in Mexico and Central America for 20 years. No one knows more about criminal cartels than Jason Jones. I got Sarah Carter, who of course works for me on the network. Sarah's been an investigative journalist on the board for 20 years. And I got Derek Maltz. Derek Maltz was a DEA director, career DEA guy, who's been going across the country talking about the scourge of fentanyl. So I brought these guys together and lady, created Border 911 nonprofit. Anybody can go to border911.com. And what we're doing is we're going around the country trying to educate large audiences on why border security matters. So when they get to the voting booth in November, they're going to vote for the person who's going to secure the border. Because what we're trying to explain to them, it's just not about illegal immigration anymore, right? When you cause a crisis this big, that's overwhelmed the Border Patrol, where 70 to 90% of the agents are off the line, that's when the fentanyl comes across to kill 112,000 Americans. That's when you have a 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children. That's when you got 1,700 illegal aliens dying crossing the border. That's when you have over 300 people off the terrorist watch list apprehended on the southern border. And most importantly, where you got almost 2 million gotaways, known gotaways. So the issue is it's a big national security vulnerability. They've arrested 300. Border Patrol's arrested people from 181 different countries. Many of these countries are sponsored by terror. They've arrested 300. Terrorists don't want to get arrested. They're trained how to evade law enforcement. So if you don't think a single one of the almost 2 million gotaways didn't come from a country sponsoring terror, then you're an idiot. So this is a huge national security vulnerability. So we want to educate America. So when you get to the voting booth in November, border security should be the first thing you think about when you're pulling that switch.
Absolutely. And there's actually a clip I want to show you. So a lot of independent journalists now are going to the border. A lot of just concerned citizens are now going to the border. It's not like it's that hard to see these criminal illegal alien invaders because there's just so many of them. And so you're seeing a lot of these citizen journalist types recording these phenomenal videos that really should be getting more attention. And one of these clips that I find to be very disturbing, it was from a tweet. It showed a citizen journalist encountering a man from the Middle East who says, oh, well, you're stupid for not knowing who I am, and the whole country is going to know who I am soon, threatening essentially an act of terrorism against our country. I don't know if you've seen this clip, but I wanted to play it for you really quick and get your reaction about it.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're going to know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
You will see soon.
Hopefully you were able to hear that audio. Were you able to make out what he said?
Yeah, I've seen that video a few times. Look, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Look, the fentanyl is terrible, right? It's killed 112,000 Americans. The sex trafficking, terrible. All of this terrible. What concerns me the most, though, is the terrorism aspect. Look, after 9/11, I was in D.C. and we created all these different databases to make sure no one can buy it. No one can buy a plane ticket to come here, and no one can get a visa to come here, like the 9/11 terrorists did, and do us harm. So we created the no-fly list. We created the FBI screening database. We created the visa security program, which I oversaw. The visa security program, we prevented thousands of people from getting a visa where there was derogatory information in their background. But what terrorists today is going to put himself in a position to buy a ticket or get a visa to come here like the 9/11 terrorists did and possibly be outed through the vetting. And we can talk about vetting. Vetting is not what people think it is. It's not that good anymore. But what terrorist is going to put himself in a position to be vetted when he can simply go to Mexico, pay the cartels a little bit extra money to be a getaway? Cartels charge two amounts of money. One, just across the border, turn yourself in. If you want to pay the cartels more, they'll get you to New York or Chicago or some city undetected. So people got to ask themselves, why did almost 2 million people pay more to get away? Why did 2 million people not take advantage, pay less, you turn yourselves in, get released within 12 hours, get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice, get work authorization, get a free hotel room, 3 squares a day, free medical attention, cash cards? Who the hell wouldn't take advantage of the giveaway program at a cheaper price? Almost 2 million people chose to pay more to get away. Why? It's obvious. They don't want to be vetted. They don't want to be fingerprinted. They're the ones carrying the fentanyl. They're the gang members. They're the criminals. And God help us, they're the terrorists. And if people say, well, Tom, how many terrorists, do you know how many terrorists come across the border under Biden? I says, no, I don't. But you'd be a fool to think it's zero. And I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
We may not have the number, but someday we're going to find out, and it's going to be a bad day for America.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, people are going to remember what it felt like to be an American the day after 9/11. And I think that day is going to come sooner rather than later. And I think one of the most egregious things of this border bill, we can get into talking about this bill now. And, I agree with you completely. My biggest concern about the open border is the fact that we're going to have some massive terrorist attack, whether it's an attack on our infrastructure, like an EMP type attack, whether they're going to completely take out our digital infrastructure. And then, we're going to have mass pandemonium in the streets of America when people realize they can't function without basic electricity. I mean, think about everything that's connected, right, to our electric grid that is completely vulnerable. And I've seen you testify about this before. And, these idiot Democrats and people like AOC have gone, head to head with you. Because they really just don't understand this stuff, right? I encourage everybody to watch that viral video, by the way, of the showdown between Tom Homan and AOC. Probably one of the funniest videos you'll ever see, just really demonstrating the stupidity of the Democrat Party.
It's really unfortunate. AOC's got to be the dumbest congressperson in the history of the United States Congress. I don't know how the hell she got elected. But it's a sad day when someone has to explain to a congressperson, that it's against the law to enter the country illegally. It's not okay. It's a crime to enter the country illegally. Everybody's forgetting that. I'm not saying we all remember it, but the Democrats either forgot it, they don't want to remember it. Secretary Mayorkas has forgotten it because he told ICE, his instructions to ICE are, if they're in the country illegally, and that's your only issue, you shouldn't be looking to target them for arrest. So even though they committed a crime, entered the country illegally, ICE isn't allowed to even look for them.
Right.
That's where we're at in the country.
Well, and we also have jihadists now serving in Congress too. So the threat of terrorism, in my opinion, is now exacerbated by the fact that we have jihadists that are pro-Hamas and pro-Hezbollah, encouraging this open borders invasion and the rhetoric and the ideology that these jihadis have. I'm talking about Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. And we know that the FBI and ICE and Border Patrol have identified active Hamas and Hezbollah terror cells. And we know that these people are making their way into our country via the northern and the southern border, and also through the Darien Gap. And, a lot of people just don't want to talk about that, but you see a lot of people talk about the southern border. And I think that there's a lot of jihadist infiltration from our northern border. And I think also a lot of people just completely forget about all of the Islamic pathways in Darien Gap. Perhaps you can shed some light on that, because I actually am planning on visiting the Darien Gap soon. And we'll be taking a camera crew out there to help expose a lot of this in the coming weeks.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the northern border, because no one talks about the northern border. So last fiscal year, there was 227 people off the terrorist watch list that were arrested on the southern border. 227. The same fiscal year, there's 432 on the northern border, almost twice as many on the northern border. And remember, after 9/11, GAO, the General Accountability Office, Government Accountability Office said this. They did a study and said that a terrorist crossing the northern border is 10 times more likely than the southern border, because Canada's, their immigration rules are so lax. You get in Canada very easily. Yeah. And look, we just emptied when we walked out of Afghanistan, thousands of terrorists were released from the prisons there, whose sole purpose in life is to see this country destroyed. And all they got to do is get to Mexico. Border Patrol's arrested people from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Turkey. I mean, just name it. Our enemies, they've been listed. Uzbekistan, they've all been, all those countries, we've had nationals arrested. But again, it's not so, I'm not concerned with the ones that turn themselves in. Again, because the vetting sucks. But we got to worry about the ones who paid more to get away, because they got something hiding. And look, and people say, I want to make something clear. I heard you talk about vetting earlier. when I was watching the show. People need to understand, even though we say we vet them, we only vet them with the information that's available to us. So, like, you got 30,000 Chinese males, military males crossing the border. Do we vet them? We vet them the best we can, but you think China's going to share with us intelligence information on their citizens? If they're spies for China, or if they're bad actors for China, they're certainly not going to share information. They're certainly not going to load up the terrorist database with their people's name in it. If we call them for records, they're not going to have the records. And even if we talk about something like El Salvador, we have an NCIC. We have all these database checks here in the United States. We can run them and vet them, but El Salvador has a non-existent criminal database. It's terrible. So we can say we vetted this Chinese national. We can say we vetted the El Salvadorian national, but it's only as good as the information we got. So most terrorists in this world, there's no record on them. We don't know who the hell they even are. Unless they're encountered on a battlefield by a soldier and a retina scan was taken or biographics and biometrics were taken, unless they're part of a Title III criminal investigation, we don't know who the hell they are, so they won't be in any database. So vetting is only as good as the information we have. So when people say they're vetted, that's not foolproof. And there's a lot of holes in vetting today. So even the ones we vet scare the hell out of me. And Darien Gap,
and as we know,
word of advice, if you go to the Darien Gap, take a security team with you, because that's a very dangerous place to go. I've been there, but I was surrounded, of course, by military personnel. But Darien Gap is very, very dangerous. So that's where the cartels are most active. That's where they're making billions of dollars. That's where most migrants die making the journey. But it's very dangerous, and the cartels control that area. So make sure you have plenty of security with you, because it is a very, very dangerous place to be.
Yeah, of course. And, I think that the media needs to expose this. And so I'm not afraid. I mean, obviously, I will have security. And it's the first time I've actually announced this on the show, because I'm in the process of finalizing all the details. But I am planning on going out there to help expose this, because people need to see it. And the news networks are refusing to go out there, and people need to see how dangerous this is. And if they're going to call, President Trump or people like you, I mean, you've been called a white supremacist, you've been called a racist. They call everybody a racist or an Islamophobe or a bigot for pointing out the fact that this is a terrorist threat and a national security threat facing our country. But they don't want to believe it. So we're going to have to show these people by going there ourselves and exposing it on camera, how they have these encampments and what they're doing, and how it's not just Islamic terrorists too. You have Chinese communist spies that are now, I'm sure you've seen this as well, posting maps, cartoon animated maps on TikTok, documenting their journeys with digital maps on how they can traverse the Darien Gap and then get to the United States of America. So the social media companies are being used to facilitate this invasion. It's one big toxic cycle. I want to talk about this bill. But also, I know that you're a big supporter of President Trump. He loves you. He's always talking about his favorite line to use when he talks about you at his rallies is he says that you come out of Central Casting. So I know that it's premature and whatnot. Have you had conversations with President Trump about perhaps joining his second administration and also filling the position of ICE director again, if you're able to share that with the audience? Or have you been asked to potentially be a member of the second administration as it relates to immigration and Homeland Security?
Well, I've had plenty of discussions with President. I'm not going to talk about specific conversation, but I can tell you, if he's back in the White House, you can rest assured that Tom Homan is probably going to be around. Look, I respect President Trump. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. And I respected every president I ever worked for, Republican or Democrat, because they're the president, right? This guy's in the White House. No, I don't respect him, because he's the first president in the history of the United States who came in office and unsecured a border. I mean, even Clinton and Obama took some steps to do something about the border, because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. You got to know what's coming in, who's coming in, where's coming in. But President Biden, the first president, came in office and unsecured a border. What the hell? What commander-in-chief comes in and says, I want more illegal immigration, I want more deadly drugs, I want more women still in sex traffic, I want more terrorists coming in? I don't know what the hell happened to him. But look, President Trump, what he did was unprecedented. I worked very well with him. This country was the border most secure it has been in my lifetime. And I started in 1984 as a border patrol agent. I've been on that border. I know border security. I know national security. No one did it better than President Trump. No one even close to what President Trump did. And yeah, I wake up every day pissed off because this administration took the most secure border in my lifetime and unsecured it. So yeah, that pisses me off. And now we got 112,000 dead Americans. We got 1,700 dead migrants. We got record number of terrorists coming across the border. So yeah, President Trump, he wants me back. I'm back.
Well, that's really good to hear because I think you did a fabulous job. And I also am going to look forward to the Democrat meltdown when you're back working with President Trump as well, because they want to destroy our country. They don't want people in there who are going to help President Trump make America safe again. And so I want to, before I get into talking about the recent bill with you and kind of going through the line item of numbers here, what is your reaction to just the failed House GOP leadership tonight and the 4 Republicans who voted against the measure to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas? I mean, we could have had him impeached tonight if it wasn't for 4 Republicans. What is your message to the obstructionist Republicans that are participating in this active invasion and infiltration of America?
I think we need to resign. We need to vote them out of office. I think what they did is a travesty. I mean, I take this personally, and they should take it personally too. The criminal cartels of Mexico who are pushing fentanyl through this open border have killed 112,000 Americans, and that stat 6 months old. At least 112,000 Americans. More Americans have been killed by the criminal cartels of Mexico than any terrorist organization in the world. That's not enough to impeach this man? The man stood at the White House podium and slandered the men of the Horse Patrol, knowing they were innocent. The only person that did anything wrong that day were the Haitian aliens that came across the country, came across the border illegally, which is a crime. They ignored verbal commands from a federal agent, which is a felony. They committed asylum fraud, which is a felony. But no one talked about them. It was all about the men of the Horse Patrol. 112,000 dead Americans. Slandered men of the Horse Patrol. Record amounts of no suspected terrorists at the border. Or a 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children. 440,000 children have been smuggled across the border, and this government, this administration can't find 100,000 of them.
Yep.
If this isn't enough, if we can impeach Donald Trump for making a phone call, you telling me we can't impeach Alejandro Mayorkas for what he's done to this country and this border? People are dying at record numbers. Just not U.S. citizens, but illegal aliens too. No, illegal cross the border, and it's a crime, but it shouldn't be a death sentence. And because they opened this border up, records are dying. Let me tell you something. Everybody wants to say that this administration policies are humane because Trump, Holman, you're racist, your policy inhumane. When Doctors Without Borders did this study, it said 31% of women make this journey through cartels get raped. 31%. That's who admitted to being raped. So we know the number is probably much higher. When President Trump had illegal immigration at a 45-year low, when 83 to 90% less people were coming, when 90% less people were coming, how many women weren't being raped? How many children didn't die crossing that border? How many women and children weren't sex trafficking in the United States? How many pounds of fentanyl didn't come across the border that killed Americans? How many terrorists didn't get into the country because the border was secure, the border was 100% on the line, vigilant, doing their job, rather than having 70 to 90% off the line. President Trump saved lives. His walls, the border wall saved lives because women and children can't climb the wall. So they're going to go to the place there's not a wall. And who's there waiting for them? The United States Border Patrol to take care of their needs. So look, I'm pissed off that you got 4 Republican congressmen who did not vote to impeach this man. What's it going to take?
Yeah, and their names. We're going to read their names. We're going to read their names too so you know them because people need to know these people are traitors. They are traitors. I would say these people are traitors. I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think these are traitors to America. Representative Tom McClintock out of California, Republican. Representative Ken Buck, Republican, out of Colorado. Okay. Representative Mike Gallagher, Republican, Wisconsin. Representative Blake Moore, Republican, Utah. So these are all Republicans who just prevented impeachment. And so I would you agree? Not only are they disgraceful, but would you go as far as calling them traitors to their country?
I would say that they turned their back on Americans because this border crisis is historic. Historic number of people are dying. Look, did they all forget about 9/11? I'm telling you, Laura, something is coming.
It is.
And if people don't think something's coming, then they're ignorant to the situation, they're ignorant to the data. And if this isn't a wake-up call with a number of terrorists coming across this border, for a member of Congress whose number one responsibility is protecting this country and protecting Americans, if he's not going to hold someone accountable, that knowingly he's the architect of the biggest border invasion in the history of this nation, when it's enough, how many Americans got to die before you take action? How many terrorists have to cross the border before you take action?
Yeah.
How many women have to be sexually assaulted before you take action? How many more children are you going to lose before you take action? So look, they had a chance to do it, but here's my hope. I know Scalise will be back in a few days. I'm hoping they do another vote, and I'm hoping that us, the people, because they're accountable to us, not the other way around. They work for us. I had to remind Congressman J. Paul that one hearing that she works for me. But we got to hold these four accountable, put pressure on them. There's going to be another vote, and hopefully we can convince them. They got to vote yes on impeachment, or you know what? We need to get them out of office because they turned their backs on America.
I agree. I want to go ahead and play this new ad from President Trump's PAC. I think that the language is, it's what we need right now, right? It's called Joe Biden is giving you the finger. I don't know if you've seen this ad yet. It just was released today, but I'm going to play this ad for you to get your reaction. New Trump campaign, or PAC ad rather, that just launched today. Let's go ahead and play it.
6 men have been charging that brutal attack caught on camera.
A shocking act of violence.
2 NYPD officers beaten in Times Square.
All of those arrested were released without bail.
Why did these 4 individuals be released on their own recognizance?
The Biden administration is fighting to release as many migrants as quickly as possible.
I'll reverse Trump's detrimental asylum policies. There's no need for us.
Biden administration reversed Trump's policy on remain in Mexico.
Joe Biden to stop construction of the border wall.
It's a new day on the southern border. Here we go. The policy that made it easy to kick out migrants is gone.
He inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration, and he immediately reinstated catch and release. And so when they apprehend people, they let them go.
I'll reverse Trump's detrimental asylum policies.
So what do you think about that ad? That just came out today.
I think it's awesome. I think it's truthful. I think it's factual. And I think it's awesome. Joe Biden, I said it earlier in the show, Joe Biden's the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border. The first 2 weeks of office, he signed over 90 executive orders destroying everything we did. If he really wants to secure the border like he's claiming he's going to do, let me tell you, this whole border bill, this is a setup. The Democrats put this on the table. They know it's not going to pass the House. So they're going to flip the script now that, the Republicans had a chance to fix the border and they chose not to. They shut down this great, awesome border security bill. So they want to blame the Republicans now for the border because they know this is the number one issue facing voters right now. But I hope America, the American people don't fall for it because it's a bunch of crap.
Right.
This administration came in and knowingly unsecured the border by signing 90 executive orders. If you want to secure the border, he could do it with a stroke of a pen, just like President Trump did.
Absolutely, and we'll get into that bill now as well. But you're absolutely right, Tom, and this is exactly what they're trying to do. And you already see the propaganda coming out of MSDNC and CNN today. Oh, well, why would you want to kill legislation after complaining about an issue? The Republicans really aren't that serious about protecting the border. There's nothing in here that protects our border. We're going to break it down now. 17%, and I'm sure you already know this, but I was explaining this earlier in the monologue for the viewers. Only 17% of the funds total, Tom, allocated in this bill were for securing the United States border. And even then, it's a lie. The $20 billion, which is the 17% I'm referring to, is for processing. So that's not even going towards Americans or securing our border. That's processing illegals. And also, in terms of the allocation of funds, when you look at the breakdown of the numbers, $20 billion for securing our border. It's a lie. $60 billion to Ukraine, about $30 billion to Israel, so that they can protect against Iranian-backed proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah. And then, do you know what the budget for the United States Marine Corps is? Just take a guess. Do you have any idea what the budget is for the United States Marine Corps? Is
less than we're giving Ukraine.
So the United States budget in the 2024 fiscal year and I mentioned this earlier in my monologue, is $53.2 billion. We've given Ukraine about $400 billion, okay? And this $60 billion is more than the entire budget for the United States Marine Corps. I mean, it's just incredible. And this is just an additional supplementation. That's not even including all the other money that we sent them. So if that doesn't speak volumes about how vulnerable we are, that we're giving more money to nations to essentially train their own armies if they ever wanted to attack us. I mean, we're giving the militaries of other nations more money than we're even investing into ourselves if we were ever attacked. While we have open borders and we're facing threats, it doesn't make any sense to me how we're going to send $30 billion, more money than we're actually giving ourselves to protect our border, to Israel, to protect against Hamas and Hezbollah, while we're doing nothing as these same Iranian-backed proxies are coming in through the Darien Gap and the southern border and the northern border and Hamas and Hezbollah. Wouldn't that money be better spent preventing those people from coming into our country as opposed to giving the money to Israel? And what's your thoughts on that? Because I personally don't really see the logic in saying, here's $30 billion to combat Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas while we're letting those same people come into our country. I mean, I just played the clip for you in the beginning of the interview, and that guy clearly said he wants to get revenge on America for the Palestinians. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's disgusting. You think our border would be more important than anybody's border? It should be America first. And you're right about the money. The money they're given, what they call for border security, is just going to continue to line the pockets of the NGOs to process, transport, and house illegal aliens. Do you know right now they're paying about $500 a night for a hotel room for an illegal alien? $500 a night. Meanwhile, there's thousands of empty ICE beds already paid for by the taxpayer, sitting empty, at $117 a night, sitting empty. And why are they doing that? Because of two reasons. Number one, they know 9 out of 10 of these people will get an order of removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. And that's not my data. That's immigration court data over the last 10 years. 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border will never get relief from U.S. courts. They either don't show up in court or they don't qualify. So 9 out of 10 get an order of removal. This administration knows this. The White House knows it. The Secretary of Homeland Security knows it. But here's what they also know. According to the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report, the Secretary's own report that comes out every year, that come out the last 11 years, says this. If you're in ICE detention, you get an order of removal, you're removed 99.7% of the time. If you're not in ICE detention, you get an order of removal, and like your family group, you leave 6% of the time. That's why they're paying more to release these people, because they know 9 out of 10 will get order removal, but if they're not detained by ICE, they're never leaving. This is their plan. Lining the pockets of the Biden-friendly NGOs, and Catholic Social Services is one of them, making billions of dollars on this, and just to process these people. I'll say this right now. The border issue is not a money issue. It's a policy issue. They could turn the Remain in Mexico program back onto moral. The highest court in the land has said is legal. They could reissue the third safe country agreements with Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, along with Mexico. You turn those two policies back on, you would fix 85% of the problem on the border, like President Trump did. But they don't want to fix the border. This isn't incompetence. This isn't mismanagement. This is by design. They meant to do this. They ran on this. The only thing I can give Biden a thumbs up on, he kept his promise. He wanted open borders, and he's kept his promise. Now we have it. So this is a policy issue, and I'm upset that so many Republicans have fallen for this. Look, you don't have to be a border expert to read this stuff. All you got to do is read English. Anybody can figure out this is a bad deal. I mean, it doesn't end catch and release. It talks about non-custodial detention, which means they're going to release more people on what they call reporting, knowing even if they show up in court because they're reporting, 6% are going to leave. ICE isn't allowed right now. DOJ just issued a rule. ICE officers can't step foot in immigration court. So when someone gets ordered removed, there's no ICE agent there to take custody of them. The Secretary of Homeland Security says ICE can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegally. If you look at ICE's removal numbers that were released 2 months ago, less than 5% of their removals were border crossers. 5% that came across, got released, and were ordered removed. Less than 7,000 out of 4 million were deported. So look, this bill is terrible for a number of reasons. Number one, it gets rid of immigration judges. Immigration judges, they defy the Homeland Security Act and the statutes where immigration judges have the authority to either give asylum or deny asylum. Now they're going to let CIS employees do this, who just got a raise by this administration. How do you think that's going to fare out? The ICE prosecutors, ICE lawyers aren't allowed in immigration court anymore on asylum hearings to present the government, to present our case that they don't qualify. They're going to give work authorization to every illegal alien they release. That's why they came here, for a job. Now we're going to give them work authorization so they can get that job. They're going to codify 5,000 people a day. That's 1.8 million a year. We're okay with that? When Secretary Mayorkas was the deputy secretary under Obama and Joe Biden was the vice president, Jay Johnson, who was the secretary at the time, said 1,000 days of crisis. How do I know that? Because when there was 1,000 entries that day, we all got called into Jay Johnson's office. He was yelling and screaming. We had 1,000 apprehensions today. What the hell are we doing to shut it down? So now they're willing to settle for 5 times that many? I can't believe where we're at as a nation where anybody thinks this bill is good. This is not going to secure the border. It's going to drive more people. Let me tell you one more thing. What do you think the daily apprehension right now at the border is? Right around 5,000. The cartels know this bill was being worked. They already are adjusting to it. So they're going to move out 5,000 so they don't have any reason to shut the border down because they take just below 5,000.
And that's the number. That's the number in the bill, exactly, 5,000. Yeah. So they're just trying to make it seem like, oh well, we're going to be reducing the number. The bill, in order for the president, because I say president because he's illegitimate. I truly do believe he's illegitimate, right? And stolen elections are lethal, and the border is proof of stolen elections being lethal. I mean, if people haven't realized now that 81 million Americans, my ass, right, did not vote for open borders so that Americans could be dying at record rates from fentanyl, so that children could be trafficked across our borders. People did not vote for this. I just refuse to believe for 1 second that people voted for this. But you're absolutely right. In this bill, 5,000 per day, and it has to be a steady stream of 7. So what are they going to say? Oh, well, it was 3,522 one day, so we're not going to shut it down. They say it has to be exactly 5,000 or more per day. So it just allows them to manipulate the numbers for an entire week. So essentially, for them to take action, they want 35,000 people, the size of a small town in America, to come in every single week. And if it's 34,999, they're not going to shut it down. It's asinine.
But they're already manipulating. They've been talking about this 5,000 number for a couple months now, and I get the daily reports, and the number is right around 5,000. The cartels are already adjusted to this, so they're going to make sure they're just under 5,000 so they don't shut the border down. But what Mayorkas is going to do, mark my word, I haven't been wrong yet. What he's going to do is just increase the number of people he brings to the port of entries, to the CBP one, the legal pathway he calls it, which is illegal. He's just going to, it's a show game. So whatever's above 5,000, bring them through the port of entry. They're bringing them through Miami Airport, Chicago Airport. They're bringing through land ports of entry by the thousands. They're just going to increase those coming through the port of entry. Because guess what? Nothing in this bill talks about what that number should be. Look, there's so many loopholes in this bill. Mayorkas is home laughing his ass off because he won this debate. And I said 3 weeks when I found out Langford was negotiating with Mayorkas, I said, what the hell is he doing? That's like negotiating with the arsonist how to stop a fire. I mean, why don't we talk to people like me? People like the people who spent 3 decades on the border, who've seen many policies come, many policies go. We know what works. We know what doesn't. But let's not talk to border experts. Let's talk to the guy who tore the borders down. Let's negotiate with that guy. It's just ridiculous. And I tell you what, if any Republicans think this is a good bill, then they obviously they can't read English, because it doesn't take a border expert to read this bill and say it is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even get to talking about immigration reform until page 30 or so in this bill. That's 307 pages, and even then, it's not even immigration reform. It's all talking about, I mean, they didn't even wait till page 4. On page 3 of this bill is when they start talking about more aid to Ukraine. So again, you don't need to be a policy expert, like you said, or super well versed in political science, or even the border for that matter, to know that this bill doesn't support Americans. I mean, I'm just looking at these numbers right now. At $118.28 billion, national security supplemental package includes 60.6 to support Ukraine, 14.4 billion for Israel, but it's actually 30 billion because, of course, we're adding in the standalone from Mike Johnson. Then you have 2.44 billion to support operations in the U.S. Central Command and address combat expenditures related to conflict in the Red Sea. 10 billion in humanitarian assistance for aid in Gaza, which is basically just arming Hamas, okay? I mean, every single time you see aid to Gaza, people need to understand, and you certainly understand this, Hamas controls all flow of aid into the region. So our own government is giving money to Hamas. It doesn't make any sense. We're giving Israel $30 billion to combat Hamas and Hezbollah, and then we're basically giving $10 billion to Hamas.
No, it's just terrible. And I've heard several people on TV today saying this bill does end catch and release because a single males can't be released. Are you kidding me? Did you read page 111, 112? Did you? No, because there's nothing preventing the release of anybody. And guess what? The 5,000 day, that doesn't count unaccompanied aliens. That doesn't count asylum seekers. That doesn't count parolees. So by the time you look at all these carve outs, you could have easily 7,000, 8,000 a day. People are commenting on this bill without reading it, and it's a travesty. I mean, I've seen even some of the conservative networks say that it's going to end catch release. No, it's not. Read the bill. It does not. It does not say that at all. They dance around. Touch on it, but you read other sections, and they got all these loopholes, all these carve outs. And Mayorkas, if he's proved anything to the American people, he's going to play back alley in this stuff. He's going to take it, every loophole, and he's going to use it to keep that border open. Because the Democrats, the left, truly thinks that if you let millions of people in this country, it's going to return them in political favors, whether they're going to vote Democratic or whether they don't have to vote, right? The Biden also overturned the Trump census rule, where these millions of people being released in sanctuary cities, they'll be counted in the next census in sanctuary cities. Democrat-controlled sanctuary cities. And what's that result in? More seats in House for the Democrats. This is about selling this country out for future political power. And I can't believe there's not a Republican on the Hill. Every Republican on the Hill needs to understand that if they don't, they shouldn't be on the Hill at all, because they're obviously not smart enough to know right from wrong when it comes to border security and the future of this nation.
Yeah, I think also that what's a major issue too is not just the Republicans who I guess they want to play ignorant and pretend like they don't understand it. But I think we also need to account proper blame to Speaker Mike Johnson. This is a guy who promised on day one that he was not going to allow for any more continued resolutions. And if Republicans had the balls to shut the government down until the Democrats actually agreed to closing the border, we wouldn't be in this position. I don't know if you can comment or speak to that, what you think about that, but we need to hold Speaker Mike Johnson accountable for the continued resolution, which allowed for the Senate to disrespect America by presenting this ridiculous fake border bill. We would not be in this position if Mike Johnson had actually been direct and said no more continued resolutions, kept his promise, and said we're shutting down the government until they secure the border.
I've been saying that for 6 months. Shut it down. HR 2 or shut it down. HR 2 will secure the border at a high level. How do I know that? Because HR 2 has many of the Trump policies in it. It's not a guessing game. We know they work. We know they're effective. So why would Republicans negotiate against themselves? I don't get it. But I'm with you. We're at the point now. We've been at the point for at least 6 months. Shut it down. How many more Americans got to die? How many children got to die? How many more women have to be sexually assaulted? How many children got to be sold off to sex slavery or forced labor? How many terrorists we got to let in the country? At what point is serious enough to shut down? I mentioned that in the network the other day, and someone said, "Well, Thomas, that's a pretty aggressive stance to take." You're damn right it is. This is the biggest national security vulnerability in this country's seen since 9/11. This is enough to shut it down. So I've said for 6 months, HR2 or shut it down. There is no sideways. There is no middle. And if the Republicans kept their promise, they would shut it down. They ran a midterm on it.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to ask you a follow-up.
No, the midterm, like I said, midterms is all about impeaching Mayorkas. It took them all this time to do that. But look, I'm telling you, if I was a man in power in charge of the Republican Party in Hill, I would tell the White House, here's HR2. Take it or we shut it down. Because we can't let more Americans die from deadly fentanyl. We can't let more women get sexually assaulted. We can't let more children die. We can't let more terrorists come across this border. I mean, you had the director of the FBI testified. He's seen more red flags right now than any time in history about terrorism coming to this country. At what point is a national security threat enough to shut it down? I say it's now.
I agree with you, but you have Joe Biden. You have Joe Biden and the Democrats talking about how domestic violent extremists, aka ultra MAGA Trump supporters like us, are apparently a bigger terror threat than the terror threat. Meanwhile, Joe Biden wants to call Donald Trump a threat to democracy, and yet he appointed an actual jihadist by the name of Maher Battar to oversee our intel at the National Security Council. And so, we actually have full-blown jihadists serving in these positions right now. I don't know if you have any comment about Maher Battar, but when I look at the fact that our country's vulnerable and I want to know why they're not doing anything to address the jihadist infiltration at our border, just look at the people that Joe Biden has put in charge. He actually put jihadist Muslims in control of the most coveted and high-level security positions in our country. Do you think that it's a national security threat to have Maher Battar in the position in the Biden administration that he is currently in?
I'm going to sound ignorant, but I'm not familiar with that. So can you educate me a little bit? Who this person is?
So Maher Battar, and I have an article about this on my website as well. Maher, for people who want to look it up, it's MAHERBITAR, and you can go to Loomer.com and look it up. But Maher Battar is a Muslim. And he, has ties to Students for Justice in Palestine. He has ties to all of these pro-Hamas organizations from his time, as a college student. He has associations with groups like CARE, which I'm not allowed to speak about CARE anymore, but he has a lot of associations. He's an Obama administration official. We'll pull this up right here. We have the full article up on screen if you want to take a look. But he is tied to these terrorist organizations, and Joe Biden appointed him to one of the top national security positions in our country. So you can read that there. You want to scroll down full screen, just show the article full screen so that people can read it. Here, we pull that down. Yeah, take it full screen and scroll down. So I'll just read it for you so that, for people that are not familiar with it. Okay, so this is an article I published upon Joe Biden and the transition of power. I published this in January of 2021. And Maher Battar, a Palestinian Muslim, was appointed to the position of the Senior Director for Intelligence at the National Security Council, as I said. we'll just read from this article now. Bitar has a long history of terror associations dating back to his time in college at Georgetown, where he was on the executive board of the school's chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine, which has documented ties to Islamic terrorist organizations, including Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the Marxist Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. SJP has spent decades pretending to be an innocent grassroots pro-Palestinian group, but instead it is a group that is dedicated to the destruction of Israel with a history of inviting convicted terrorists to speak at their meetings. Let's see, scroll down. Bitar has openly supported SJP, which has spurred his career as a highly anti-Semitic and anti-Israel activist who advocated in support of the BDS movement, which seeks to wage economic warfare on Israel through international boycotts of products from Israel. So in other words, as I was saying, Mr. Homan, we have a devout Muslim with jihadist tendencies who is openly in favor of the eradication of Israel. He has terror ties with his own associations with SJP, and he now has access to some of the most sensitive information within the intelligence agencies here in the United States of America. And so, we want to know why we're seeing this massive invasion of Islamic terrorists into our country. Now that I just gave you a briefing on who Maher Bitar is, what do you think about the fact that Joe Biden appointed this individual, this jihadist Muslim, to the national director of intelligence at the National Security Council? This is the guy that a week before October 7th told the intel agencies not to focus on threats from Hamas and Hezbollah. And then Israel, of course, was attacked, and everybody was wondering, how did the U.S. not intercept this? How did Israel not intercept this? What do you think about this? Because this is the reason why we're going to have another 9/11. Nobody wants to talk about this guy, Maher Bitar, but the fact that he's supposed to be intercepting our intel and keeping our country safe, and he sympathizes with these people, I cannot believe that there have not been impeachment hearings to get this jihadist out of his position. It's insane. We have a jihadist overseeing our intel.
Well, again, I didn't know about this till now, and I'm going to read the entire article when we finish this show, but I'm shocked at what you just told me, and I'm going to start putting some pressure on people on the Hill to have those oversight hearings. But look, how did the guy pass vetting? When they made me the ICE director,
that's my question.
They were talking to my high school. They went back talking to my high school teachers. I mean, they drove down on me and my pastor, talking to my neighbors when I was a kid. They're talking to my high school teachers. They drove down on me during my background investigation when President Trump nominated me as a ICE director. I don't know how this happened. I'm shocked at what you just told me. But I tell you this, Laura, I'm going to read this article when we get done with the show, and I'm going to call folks up on Hill and say, what the hell are we doing? We got to do something, because this is, yeah. I'm shocked. I mean, I know I'm so tied up with the border, and I don't know everything going on. Obviously, I didn't know.
No, and I'm not trying to embarrass you or put you on the spot. I just know that.
But wait, I'm shocked at what you just read to me. So believe me, it ain't the end of this. Not as far as I'm concerned. I'll start raising this hell myself, because we got, this definitely needs to be looked at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shocked.
And I had been banned on also.
Meanwhile, I go up and testify, and I'm a racist. I'm a bigot. and a matter of fact, the last hearing I did, I said, I'm getting sick and tired of you people ever call me racist and bigot. If I'm a racist and bigot for enforcing immigration law, what's that make you all? You wrote the law. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm only enforcing laws you enacted. So if I'm a racist and bigot for enforcing law, what's that make you? You wrote it. But what I just learned in the last 5 minutes, I'm shocked. And I'm being honest with you. As soon as we finish the show, I'm going to go to your website and read that entire article, and I'll start raising some hell.
Yeah, because, look, me, I had been banned on all social media for exposing Ilhan Omar and the Islamic infiltration into our country, and I was called a racist. I put illegal aliens on Nancy Pelosi's lawn, and I pitched a tent and claimed sanctuary at Gavin Newsom's lawn to expose this hypocrisy. But unfortunately, when you're banned everywhere, right, you only have a limited reach. And so I was really trying my best to inform people about this in January of 2021. And of course, Trump was out of the White House by then, and I couldn't get anybody to take it seriously, right? And nobody wanted to listen. But this guy is ultimately to blame for October 7th. I mean, if there's one person in this country who is to blame for the intelligence failure regarding the Hamas and Hezbollah attack on October 7th, it is Maher Bitar. And I really worry that all these Islamic terrorists that have been, just kind of taken off the radar. And not to mention during the Obama administration, this guy, Maher Bitar, comes from the Obama administration. One of the things that happened during the Obama administration, as you know, and I think we have a mutual friend in Philip Haney who has unfortunately since passed away, but he wrote a book called See Something, Say Nothing about how Obama actually ordered for Border Patrol and Homeland Security to destroy the terror watch list of encounters of terrorists who they encountered at the border. And so that's why we were able to have attacks like the San Bernardino ISIS attack in California, where you have terrorists who came into our country during the Obama administration who were undetected. That's why we were able to have incidents like this chain migration ISIS Uber driver who came in from a ISIS-tied country and mowed 12 people down in a bike lane in New York City a couple years ago, if you recall. And so maybe you can speak to that before we close up, because I don't think a lot of people understand that one of the things Obama did before he left office was he actually ordered the destruction of these terror watch lists so that all the data that had been compiled and all of the names and all of the notes that so many of these Homeland Security and border officials had collected were destroyed. And he did that on purpose because, well, we know Barack Hussein Obama clearly has an Islamic agenda that he tried to implement during his time in the White House. And now we're seeing it also be implemented through his, what I call, third term, because I really do believe that it's Barack Hussein Obama who's calling the shots right now behind the scenes. So maybe you can shed some light on that, right? About how Obama helped destroy these documents.
I can tell you that it is a violation of federal law to destroy documents without going through the proper procedures. So terrorist watch lists in the last decade, I would say the terrorist watch lists have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Get far less scrutiny than they did in the past. After 9/11, terrorist watch lists were a serious matter. They got scrutinized by numerous intelligence agencies, but now very few agencies have control over the list, who gets added to the list, who gets taken away the list. And in this nation, that is one tool that we can't afford to be politicized. And any president that politicizes it, it needs to be held accountable. That is, like I said, the vetting already is so bad that the terrorist watch list is happenstance at best. I'm not familiar with the destruction of terrorist watch lists. I know we didn't destruct it. When Obama was president, I was fourth in command at ICE, so I wasn't in the intelligence division, or I didn't have access to that kind of data. But it's a violation of federal law to destroy that data. Yeah. I mean, when I retired from ICE, I couldn't destroy anything. I had to keep it all. And I had to turn it over, everything. And box after box after box of information, even my emails. They took a copy of every email I had before I left and kept that in storage. So I don't have personal knowledge of that, but I know it's a big problem if they do that, because I know what I had to go through when I retired. I had to give up everything. Nothing can be destroyed.
Oh, I'll send this to you as well, but essentially what I'm referring to is a book by Philip Haney, who, he has unfortunately since passed away under very suspicious circumstances. He did a lot to expose the jihadist infiltration of our government. As a former Homeland Security officer during the Obama administration, a lot of people think that he was actually murdered. He was, at the time of his death, they said it was a suicide, but at the time of his death, he was actually working on exposing elements of Operation Cassandra and other, investigations as it relates to the Obama administration's obfuscation of this national security information as it relates to keeping us safe from jihadists. And so I'll just show the cover of the book on screen right now, but the book is called See Something, Say Nothing. A Homeland Security officer exposes the government's submission to jihad. And I do think that, I don't expect a lot of people to know about this because unfortunately the media never talked about it, but I would highly recommend that everybody read this book, because you get to see firsthand from a Homeland Security official and somebody who was a jihad expert and spoke multiple languages, probably one of the most prolific jihad experts in the entire world, somebody I had the honor of working with. And he tells these stories about how they ordered these Homeland Security officials to just delete the data and delete information on terrorists. And this is exactly what happened in the case of the San Bernardino terrorist attack in California, where you had a couple carry out an attack during a holiday party, and they were ISIS terrorists. And he explains how this, was a direct result of Obama's policies, and Obama's policies are Biden's policies. So I completely agree with you in that the biggest threat of our open border, Tom, is the looming terrorist attack. I wonder every day when it's going to be. I don't recommend people take public transportation. I don't know if you, and it's morbid to even guess about this, but if you could guess what it's going to be, do you think it's going to be some kind of infrastructure attack, a bombing, another plane crash? What do you think we should be expecting? Because you obviously get a lot of intel from your prior position as as the ICE director.
First of all, I spent 34 years on the border, so I know the border and everything in and out about the border. I have no problem answering any question about the border. But you give me homework tonight. Now I got to look up 2 things to study because I'm not familiar with those stuff. So you give me homework, Laura. So I got to look up 2 things. But look, I think it's going to be infrastructure. I think we already know it's going to be infrastructure. I think, all of a sudden power stations, our transformers being, shot up. I think infrastructure is going to be the big issue. EMP, I've thought about EMP attacks for a long time because EMP would make us, they would shut the country down because everything's on the power grid, computer systems, even a 911 emergency broadcasting, everything. So I think infrastructure, and what scares me, EMP attack and infrastructure attack, because that's going to do this nation a lot of harm. And if you can't count on power and water and things like that, you can't count on our infrastructure, then they can easily cripple this country because this country is not prepared to deal with massive infrastructure attacks. And they say they are, but we see what happens just with an ice storm, how it shuts down D.C. for days. An ice storm. Can you imagine EMP attack? So I think it's going to be, if I had to guess, I would say infrastructure. And I think, EMP, I know the Trump administration has hardened our infrastructure security, but I don't know where it is today because I've been retired now for over 3 years. I don't know what this administration is doing hardening infrastructure protection, but I would guess that. I would guess infrastructure.
I agree with you. One last question before we, finish up. I know you're having a really big event at Mar-a-Lago as well. We saw that Mike Johnson asked for a continued resolution, and when he the last time he caved, right? And they want to readdress a budget now on March 8th. Do you think that it's past the time now for waiting? I mean, would you be open to calling for the chair to be vacated? Because I think that this leadership is weak. You saw tonight, we played the video in the beginning of the show, Mike Johnson just kind of passively accepting the fact that, let's just play the clip. It's a 19-second clip, because I'm really sick and tired of everybody acting like a pacifist and everybody just kind of rolling over and sitting there and acting like, oh, well, no big deal, right? We're just going to let it all go. And, well, no big deal that these Republicans just voted against us impeaching Mayorkas. So let's play this. It was in the very beginning of the show. Let's scroll up. It's in the very beginning. Yeah, right there. So let's play this clip. And it's just not a normal reaction. I mean, where's the fire, right? Watch this clip.
On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 216. The resolution is not adopted.
I don't know about you, Tom, but I think that that's weakness. You have a Speaker of the House just sitting there, not even saying anything, not even expressing rage, and losing control of the chamber, allowing for these Democrats, these open borders Democrats, to cheer like what is this, a football game? Woo! We're destroying America! More dead Americans! I mean, I think the guy is such a pacifist. I think he should be removed as Speaker of the House. Would you be in favor?
I think what's weak is that he should have had the votes before he brought it to a vote. As much as I despise Nancy Pelosi, she would never brought it to the vote if she bring it to the floor for a vote. She knew she didn't have the votes. I don't know why they would bring it to a vote without having these votes locked in. So yeah, I think we're at the point now. If we don't shut it down, again, if we don't have the backbone to shut the government down, yeah, I think people need to be replaced.
Vacate the chair.
This is the biggest national security threat this nation has faced since 9/11. If they don't shut it down, I think people need to be replaced.
And a lot of them are going to be up for re-election, and they could be replaced. But specifically, though, in the concept of vacating the chair, would you be in favor of vacating the chair for a new speaker if Mike Johnson does not shut the government down by March 8th?
If he's the cause of it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think we got 4 other people we got to blame.
Yeah.
As far as the impeachment stuff. And look, what irritates me every day is that the Democrats are so good. They vote all together on everything. But the Republicans always said they're broken. The GOP's broken. Okay. And they always had these people who Trump called them rhinos. After President Trump was indicted in New York, I wish that DeSantis, Nikki Haley, everybody would say, you know what? We're stopping our campaigns. We're going to circle our wagons around President Trump. They have declared war on conservatism. We're going, for the once in the party's history, we're going to circle our wagons around this and take this on. But they didn't, because it's more about what's good for me rather than what's good for the country. So yeah, I'm very disappointed when I read the news clip tonight that the impeachment didn't pass. I wanted to throw up because I've been calling for impeachment for 2 years. But I can't believe they brought it to the floor for a vote without having the votes locked in. Now, unless someone changed their mind last minute. Yeah. That is shocking to me.
It's shameful.
That is shocking to me.
There's a lot, and I really appreciate all the time you've spent tonight. You've been so generous with your time, and I'm sure everybody wants to talk to you. But I know that you have a great event coming up. We have it up on your website here, Border 911. We have the invitation as well. I believe those invitations were just public today, right, for your event at Mar-a-Lago. Tell people about this event that you're going to be having at Mar-a-Lago and give us the details.
It's going to be April 4th at Mar-a-Lago. You go to Border 911 and get tickets. Again, it's a nonprofit. Tickets are tax deductible. We're going to have an event down. It's a fundraiser. Again, no one's making a paycheck.
You guys, last time we were down here in Mission, Texas.
Every penny we're making at this event is going to be used for operational expenses. What do I mean by that? Like I said earlier, it's going to pay for trips around the country for the people you see on the Border 911 team to educate Americans about the dangers of the border. This is just not about illegal immigration. It's about terrorism. It's about fentanyl. It's about trafficking. So when you get to the voting booth in November, you're going to vote for border security. So this is our first kickoff fundraising event. I hope people show up. Even if you don't show up, go to the website and see if you can help out. Again, it's a nonprofit. It's all about paying for trips, paying for having these big events across the country to educate America. I spend a lot of my own money on this. I'm not making a dime on this. I've never been more concerned about the safety and security of this country than I am right now. And that my other teammates, the other 5 teammates, feel the same way as I do. So we started this nonprofit to help. We got to vote for border security. If we don't get this border secure, God help us.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so people are able to buy tickets for this if they go to your website, border911.com?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can.
Wonderful. Well,
we got Sebastian Gork is going to be the MC there. We got Matt Whitaker is going to be there in addition to our team. We got a lot of great people. The Sorbas, and we got a lot of Trumpers going to be there. But it'd be a great event. It'd be great to see everybody there. And if they can't, still go to the website. Even if you just go to the website and read it, there's a lot of good data in there. There's a lot of good videos in there talking about it will help you, educate you. Most of your listeners probably are already, semi-border experts. They get it. But go to the website. I think you'll find some information that might interest you. I know tonight I've learned 2 things that I got to now do homework on. So you never know. We can always learn more, Laura. That's for sure.
And I was not trying to put you on the spot. I just think that this is for me, it's so relevant to the intel as it relates to the jihadist subversion and what we're talking about, especially with, you see the videos right here of these Middle Easterners trying to come into our country saying, oh, well, you're going to know who I am because I'm going to get revenge for the Palestinians. Well, why would the head of our intel for the National Security Council want to lock these people up if he sympathizes with these people, if he also hates Jews in Israel and he also is Palestinian and Muslim, right? So there's a problem, and people will say, oh, well, you're being prejudicial. You can't just say because he's a Muslim and he's Palestinian that he's not loyal to America. His actions have shown me that he is not loyal to America. He has a loyalty to Sharia law first. He has a loyalty to Islam first, which is seen through his support of groups like SJP and the BDS movement and the people, the known jihadist organizations and individuals. This individual who is supposed to be protecting our country at the highest level. This is a very coveted position. We're talking about the national director, the director of intelligence at the National Security Council. So I am going to send you all of that information tonight, and we can talk offline again tomorrow. And I'm thrilled to know that you're going to get lawmakers on this because he needs to be impeached. Maher Bitar.
And I'll tell you, you didn't put me on the spot. I mean, I can't know everything, but that's what shows like it's all about, podcast, right? I learned a couple of things tonight, and I'm serious. Because you have to deal with national security. I'm going to follow up, and you and I will talk offline. But I'm going to read your article first of all. I'm sending me the information. You already sent the information on the book. These are the things I'm going to look at because you know what? I've been around a long time, but I love learning about national security. And one of the good things about being on the show tonight, I've learned a couple of things which I'll follow up on. You and I will talk offline, but. You didn't put me on the spot at all. I'm happy to learn. I'm happy to. If I don't know about something, I want to know what you said. I want to know about it now.
Yeah.
And I absolutely want to know about it. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I know that you mean business, so I know. Yeah, and I know that you mean business, and so I feel really confident knowing that that you're going to take this information to the people that need to know about it because it's a huge concern to me. So Tom Homan, thank you so much. You're an American hero. You're brilliant. You're doing such hard work. And I think that you're one of the most valuable people in our country right now. I pray every day that President Trump wins and that he gets back in for a second term because I feel like this country is over. And I hope to see you as a part of the second administration because you did amazing work during the first term and you're doing incredible work now. And I'm really grateful that you took so much time tonight to speak to me and my viewers.
Well, let me tell you this: if we don't get it back in November, I don't think we're going to be able to fix it.
I agree.
We can't have 4 more years. That scares the hell out of me. There's so much work to do now to fix it. 4 more years, I don't know if it's going to be fixable. So This is important. So yeah. So. Thanks for the homework, and I mean that. I'm going to study up on these 2 issues, and you and I will talk offline. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm going to text it to you. Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate it. And be sure you're following Tom at Real Tom Homan on Twitter, and his website again is border911.com. Thanks, Tom. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, amazing interview. So amazing. We just had over an hour with Tom Homan. Former ICE director under President Trump, just a brilliant guy, really tells it like it is. That's why I like him, right? Because he's a no bullshit kind of guy, and that's what I like. I like no bullshit people, and Tom Homan is definitely not a bullshitter. So we have another incredible immigration expert coming up in a couple minutes. But before that, of course, we have another sponsor to thank tonight, the second sponsor of Loomer Unleashed, Genucell. So a lot of you are always asking me, they say, oh, well, Laura, I really like your skin. You have really nice skin. What do you use on your skin? What do you do? And I use this product called Genucell, and I have it here on the desk behind me. I use it every day, but I keep it in the studio too because I do my makeup when I come in and I'm, preparing everything throughout the day. But you have the Genucell cream. I really love the anti-wrinkle treatment, but they have a lot of great products, as you can see. And it's not just for women, it's for men too, because skincare is for men and women. And so whether or not you have 3 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes, you are going to want to keep your face wrinkle-free and fresh. And so introducing Genucel 90, Gen 90, the new instant wrinkle treatment from Genucel, the perfect Valentine's Day gift for yourself or your Valentine. Chocolates will make you gain weight. Flowers die. Everybody likes getting flowers. And, I like a good chocolate, but, chocolate in moderation. You got to watch your figure. But something that I think that everybody will like is high quality skincare. So this is a great gift, and I highly recommend that all of you take part in the Valentine's Day special over at Genucel by using code LUMER. Gen 90 instantly reduces the appearance of wrinkles anywhere you use it, around your eyes, your forehead, the crow's feet, laugh lines, and even on your chin. It starts working in seconds. And it's at least one thing that you don't have to worry about, and that's your skin and your confidence when you use Gen 90 and Genucel products. Gen 90 technology is luxurious, nourishing, and silk smooth, and best of all, it starts working in seconds. I know because I feel it working on my face every single time I use it. I use it in the morning, I put a serum on, then I put my moisturizer on, and I use the Gen 90 treatment. I do this at night too when I go home. So the first thing tonight I'm going to do when I get home, I'm going to take my dogs out, and then I'm also going to take my makeup off and put my skincare on. So I really vouch for this product. And a lot of people get busy. If you're one of those last minute Valentine's Day shoppers and you're looking for your boyfriend or looking for your girlfriend, or I don't know, maybe you want to get your daughter or, someone special in your life. People get Valentine's Day gifts for friends. Doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic partner. This is a great gift. And there's a reason why Genucel has a 400% customer loyalty rate over other skincare brands. It's because it really does work. And customers are satisfied. I know, because I am a customer. Gen 90 is on a special Valentine's Day sale now at Genucel.com. And it's, of course, included in the bestseller package. So before you go overseas or you think about getting harsh procedures or plastic surgery, right, try Gen 90 first. Make your fine lines and wrinkles disappear wherever they are before you leave your house. And so for Valentine's Day, right, it's coming up. What are we like, 8 days away or so? 9 days away? What are we, 8 days away? It's about 8 days away, right? For Valentine's Day, 8 days away, order Gen 90 with the most popular package for up to 70% off. You'll also get free shipping and a Valentine's Day spa box with every single order. So check it out at Genucel.com/Loomer. That's Genucel.com/Loomer. Free shipping on all orders. Great deal. Genucel.com/Loomer. And you could also get yourself a Valentine's Day present. Look, you got to love yourself before you love others. And so treat yourself, pamper yourself. Or, like I said, get your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your mom or your daughter or your, whoever is in your life some skincare. They're going to thank you for it because this is a great product. You should all try it out. Genucel.com/Loomer. All right, so we heard from Tom Homan. I told you that this was going to be an action-packed episode tonight. And joining me next is combat correspondent and another amazing immigration expert, Michael Yon. And you may have seen his videos, traversing the border, traversing the Darien Gap, going into the jungle and all of these very dangerous locations to expose the truth, exposing these Chinese communist encampments, the Hamas and Hezbollah encampments, and just the overall national security threat that this invasion is bringing to our nation. And so joining me now is Michael Yon. Michael, thank you so much for coming on Loomer Unleashed tonight. Great to finally have you on the show. We've been talking for months now, it seems, and our schedules are always kind of colliding. But now, right now, we finally had time to get you on the podcast, and I announced tonight while I was on with Tom Homan that I'm going to be joining you. I'm going to be flying to Panama in about 2 weeks, and I'm going to be going to the Darien Gap with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it's an honor to come on your show. And this time, I'm not in a jungle or a desert or a firefight. I'm actually in a brewery. Can you believe it? In Dripping Springs, Texas. It's strange. I'm in a brewery. No, it's not a brewery. It's a distillery. And the thing is I don't even drink alcohol. So that's like being in the Willy Wonka. You don't like chocolate. So anyway, you never know what's next. When you do war correspondent work, you could be in, some prime minister's office or in a jungle or in a distillery. So anyway, I've been working all day on our Panama trip. It's a lot of work, as you know, to put these things together. It's all coming together smoothly. And then I took a break and went down to the studio with Alex Jones and went on today, and we talked about the border with Doc Chambers. And, a lot of things are unfolding. Now you can see, I just got word today from the Darien Gap that the flows of the aliens coming through are pretty dramatic right now. So when you get there, you're going to see stuff that you've never seen before. I'm quite confident in that. I say that with confidence because I'm always on many different borders, but there's something special about the Darien Gap. Also, Panama has other points of criticality for the United States. For instance, the canal itself, the Panama Canal. Most Americans don't seem to realize how important the Panama Canal is for the United States. It's absolutely vital, especially now that we've got the war. And potentially it's a lot. You're going to see got to.
Hey, Michael.
This affects global trade. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that there's some lagging issues going on. I don't know if you're connected to the Wi-Fi or not, but I think you're having some connectivity issues on your end. And so I'm not sure if you're using a hotspot or if you're on the Wi-Fi, but a lot of what you just said cut out, unfortunately, because of your internet connection. I don't know if you want to try reconnecting.
Usually it's lickety-split here.
I don't know if you want to try reconnecting or not.
Connect. Yeah, I'll connect. Be right back. Okay.
We're just going to let Michael reconnect because he's not in his usual setup. And so we'll wait a couple minutes for him to connect. In the meantime, let's go to the chat and see what people thought about the interview with Tom Homan. And then this is going to be really good. We're going to get Michael Yan on to, he's going to reconnect and we're going to talk all about the Darien Gap. And yeah, that's, I was going to break the news to all of you tonight. I announced it during my interview with Tom Homan, but I've decided that the immigration issue is so severe that, President Trump is going to win South Carolina. And so I am not going to go to South Carolina. I know that I had originally said that I was going to go to South Carolina to report on the primary, but I have decided that this crisis is so severe that it's probably a better use of my time going to Panama and going to the Darien Gap. And so that's what I'm going to do. President Trump is going to destroy Nikki Haley in South Carolina. I have exposed Nikki Haley and I can confront Nikki Haley, whenever I want. But we need to show people and open people's eyes about this invasion. And so that's what I plan to do. I plan on going to the Darien Gap. I believe we now have Michael back with a better connection. So we're going to get him on. I think that's
Laura,
better now.
I hope this connection's better.
Yeah, that's
Great.
much better. It was lagging before. So maybe you just want to repeat that. You were talking about Panama. I had just told everybody that, we were waiting to hash out the travel details. But now that that's all finalized, I made the announcement today that we're going to be traveling to Panama with you and how I, canceled my travel plans to go to South Carolina to go cover the primary between Trump and Nikki Haley because Trump's going to beat Nikki Haley hands down. But I felt like this was worth changing my travel itinerary for because as much as I love President Trump, I think that exposing this immigration issue will further help people understand why we need President Trump back in office as well, because this is just, they see the border, they see politicians going and they, you see people swimming across the Rio Grande, but I don't think a lot of people are aware of these Chinese communist encampments in the jungle in Panama and these Hamas and Hezbollah outposts and all the narco trafficking here and the human trafficking and the rapes that are taking place in the jungle. And I'm going to go out there and document it all with you. And so I'm very excited. You're a legend in my chat. We have so many fans of yours. People are very excited. They're like, oh, Michael Yan is a legend. And so the Loomer Unleashed viewers are very excited that I will be joining you out in Panama.
I can't wait for you to get down there. I mean, we've been working on it all day today, except for the time that I went down to see Alex Jones and and go on with Doc Chambers. Hopefully Doc Chambers is going to come as well. It's unclear if he can make it with us, but he's a Green Beret doctor, so it'd be nice to have him along. But you're going to see some incredible things. Actually, at this point, I still call it China Camp. I just took Brett Weinstein and Dr. Chris Martenson there, and of course Misako Ganaha and Vandersteel. We were all there again, and I still call it China Camp. One of the camps there in Darien, they call it San Vicente. But in reality, at this point, it's more of a bus stop because they come out of the Darien Gap, and it's not like they camp there for a week. That you're going to see, they're going to come in, take a shower, get on a bus, and they're gone. They go right up the Pan American Highway. You're going to see them, and you'll be able to talk with them. Actually, the Chinese don't talk as much as they used to, but we'll have Mandarin speakers this time and that sort of thing. And so you're going to see some people that are clearly going to be dangerous. You're going to see, for instance, people coming in from Syria that will at times be kind of aggressive. And likewise, most of the Venezuelans are actually quite loquacious. They'll speak with you, but there are some that clearly, I'm not sure who they are. They could be Hezbollah, a lot of Hezbollah through Venezuela. A lot of Hezbollah live in Venezuela. Actually, there was a bombing in 1994 in Panama that hit an aircraft there and killed about 12 Jewish people. In fact, they may try to set up a lunch or a dinner with one of the family members. I just had lunch with him last month or so, and 3 of his family members were killed. In a day of that, there was another bombing in Argentina, which killed about 85 at a Jewish center, and I think wounded about 300. So it's about 300. And so that was Hezbollah. And by the way, the mastermind of the bombing in 1994 in Panama is believed to now live in Venezuela and own a bar.
Own a bar, yeah.
Actually owns a you can't even make up this stuff. I mean, like Mr. Jihad owns a bar. So, I mean, and people know who he is and where he's at, but he's still out there operating. Now, keep in mind, so this is what some of the things that you're going to see in the Darien are extraordinary. I mean, more even so than I've been across the U.S. border all the way from SpaceX, which is on the Gulf side, to San Diego. I've been across the entire border, quite a lot actually, and on the Mexican side as well. So I'm quite familiar with that. Actually, there's a lot of people coming in through our Canadian border. Like you may end up talking with Chinese who may talk about, hey, we're heading to Mexico, and then we're going to take a boat to Canada to come across the northern border. You may have somebody actually tell you that. We'll see. But some of the Chinese will talk, and one of the things about talking with Chinese, though, if it's a group of Chinese, forget it. They're not talking in groups. You have to split them off. But again, there are straight up Islamic terrorists coming through constantly. Nobody knows who they are, but we know. Look at what just happened in Colorado. So this is what I keep warning. A few days ago, I did a speech here in Dripping Springs, and I said, listen, HIAS, which is something that Brett Weinstein was tweeting about a few hours ago.
And for people that don't know what HIAS is a Jewish organization. They're kind of like Catholic Charities. They're basically the Jewish Catholic Charities that is, another one of these NGOs that is bringing in invaders, right? Criminal illegal aliens under the guise of charity. And so I'm really looking forward to speaking with these people, because as a Jew myself, I think it's really horrendous that you have HIAS NGOs stationed in Panama that are actively trying to help these people with sympathies for Hamas and Hezbollah get into our country. I mean, did they not learn anything about what just happened on October 7th in Israel? This is what I was just talking to Tom Homan about in the previous segment. I don't know if you were able to catch it, but
I watched it. Yeah,
I was talking to him about how asinine it is that we are sending, right, over $30 billion to Israel for aid so that they can combat the Iranian proxies and Hamas and Hezbollah. Then we're sending $10 billion to counter that aid, right, to Gaza as humanitarian aid, which is basically $10 billion to Hamas, because as you know, Hamas controls all of the aid and the flow of the aid in Gaza. And then we're not doing anything to protect our border, right? The Darien Gap's open. You have the southern border. You have all of these Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists who have been identified with active terror cells and encampments. And in the jungle, as your brilliant reporting has exposed. These people setting up these very lucrative businesses, paying and accepting funds from people to help them get into the United States. And the Chinese are doing it too. But I find it to be especially egregious that you have Jewish organizations like HIAS that are willingly helping these people, even though they know that they are tied to the very same people who carried out, one of the most barbaric attacks on Jewish people since the time of the Holocaust.
It is. Normally I've been slamming Catholic Charities for year on year, but this time, since Mayorkas is up for impeachment, I lifted and shifted on HIAS because he was a board member on HIAS. If he was,
and he's
a
a Jew.
Catholic Charities,
he's a Jew, and we need to call him out.
Exactly, and he was a board member on HIAS, and then he went to, and you can see him on HIAS.org. I may have frozen again.
No, you're good.
Is it still
you're
there,
good.
Laura?
Yeah, you're there. You're not frozen.
Okay, but yeah, so I lifted and shifted from Catholic Charities and IOM to HIAS because he is. And actually, you're going to see the HIAS office right next to China Camp, like 40 yards away. You can talk with the HIAS workers. I eat breakfast with them. You'll see. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's all in the open. It's like nothing's hidden. Everybody's proud of it. Actually, the lower level people, when I talk with them all the time, they seem like good people. They just have no idea what's going on. They think they're just helping the world. They're like gears in a clock, but they don't know what time it is, right? When you meet them, you're like, these aren't evil people. They have no idea. And likewise with a lot of the Border Patrol I speak with. Now, some of the Border Patrol are very well informed, and others have when you go to the U.S. southern border and talk with Border Patrol, I would say 90 to 95% have never heard of Darien Gap. I've asked so many you wouldn't believe. And most of them are like, no, never heard of it. But the ones who have heard of Darien Gap they'll tend to know quite a lot about it. They'll talk about who's coming through and the camps and all kinds of stuff. So, the ones who actually seek to inform themselves, but then, the other 95% are actually the problem that we have to inform that listen, it's not Panama that's causing this problem. It's our own government. Our own government gives HIAS and Catholic Charities and UNHCR and IOM and all these others that you'll see down there, and a lot of them you've already seen. But it's our own government. Our government is the number one benefactor of, for instance, IOM. IOM dwarfs HIAS and Catholic Charities. IOM is the International Organization for Migration, and that's the big engine of this. Now, there's others, but UNHCR, IOM, all the United Nations, basically. That's the main engine. The United States. Now for IOM, the number two benefactor, by the way, Amy Pope is the American in charge of IOM at this point. She's been in charge for maybe 4.5 or 5 months, and she brags that the United States is the largest donor to IOM. And the second largest is Germany, and the third is Canada. I was thinking of something I saw in El Salvador at the Canadian consulate. IOM actually shares a building with the Canadian consulate in El Salvador, right? So they're in the same building, and same in Honduras as well, by the way. So in other words,
but El Salvador,
so
you have the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who just won re-election in a landslide, winning over 85% of the vote. And Nayib Bukele has been very aggressive in calling out these NGOs, and he calls them Soros caravans. He's actually used the term Soros caravans to describe this invasion. And so I would say that, the president of El Salvador, maybe you have a different opinion on it. I've been to El Salvador myself, had a meeting with the vice president when I was there a couple of years ago. But El Salvador, under the leadership of Nayib Bukele, has done a great job in trying to, in my opinion, combat the flow of illegal migration to the United States. So thank God for Nayib Bukele, because these caravans that are coming into the U.S. would be much more severe if El Salvador didn't have the type of leadership that they have now under Nayib Bukele.
Oh, yeah. I just went to El Salvador. Actually, Masako Ganaha and I were there, and we were there for, a week or two? And we were all over the place, and I liked it, actually.
I was
thinking about going back there. Yeah.
It's fun. It's great. It's safe. It used to be one of the most unsafe places. The food is great. It's safe. Honestly, when I said I was going to go by myself 2 years ago, I went for New Year's. I went there by myself because I know someone who lives there. I have a friend who lives there, but I traveled there by myself and people were like, you're going to die. They have MS-13 all over the place. I said, no. They've cleaned that up. They've cleaned it up. I'll tell you, Michael, I felt more safe walking around the streets of El Salvador at night by myself than I feel walking around the streets of New York at night by myself. I would not walk around the streets of New York by myself.
I would say that's a truthful statement as well. When I was in San Salvador, I liked it. I would go back on vacation. I would actually recommend El Salvador for vacation. You can't make up this stuff. It used to be one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Now I'm saying, hey, go on vacation, take the kids. You know, it's like you can't even make up this stuff. But you know, yeah, and actually, I like Panama as well. But actually, in Panama is quite safe as well. But I thought that actually El Salvador might even actually be safer. But anyway, you know, what's happening now, of course, China is trying to take all of the Americas, and we'll talk about that in detail when we get together, because we're going to be together for a week with some heavy hitters. And so we're going to talk about, you know, the Chinese and the things that, you know, I've written 3 books, by the way, on Chinese information war. Unfortunately, they're only in Japanese. They're not in English, because I've been trying to wake up Japan for more than 10 years. Japan is asleep like everybody else. A lot of Americans and Westerners think, oh, Japan would never let all these aliens into Japan, but they're wrong, because information war is causing Japan to open the doors. So you'll see, like, you know, well, I don't know if you've been to Japan recently, but they're starting to have similar issues in Japan, because they're just opening the doors to the world. And it's all, you go to
I've
Narita
never been to Japan.
you can,
I would love to go to Japan, but yeah, you constantly hear about that.
We'll invite you over.
Yeah, I would love to.
We'll invite you over, yeah. And I mean, I love Japan. I mean, talk about safe for the moment. I mean, but they keep opening the doors. I mean, they keep opening the doors wider and wider. But it's information war, Laura. You know this very well. Information war is the highest form of warfare. It's not all the Navy SEALs kick the door down stuff. It's information war. That's the PhD level of warfare. The reason we have no border, the reason we have these basically, you know, AOCs and Dog King Biden and Trudeau up in Canada, and, you know, and all these sorts of things. You know, we're going up against top-notch information warriors. We would have everybody out running around exercising with their children right now, and
right.
You know, and having fun, and we would have a tiny police force that only investigates accidents and that sorts of things, because we would be programming ourselves to be better people, not worse and evil people.
Absolutely. So, you know, we're going to talk about this. I'm going to be filming a lot of great content when I'm out there with you in about 2 weeks. But in the meantime, let's talk about this disaster border bill. As somebody who has spent extensive time in the Darien Gap and looking at all of the problems that have just further been, you know, exacerbated by the lack of leadership in the GOP, and also to just the Uniparty at large that is gaslighting the American people into making them think that this is a border bill. What are your thoughts on what just happened in Washington, D.C. today with, luckily, you know, the Senate coming to their senses, realizing this bill is dead on arrival. Shockingly, the Republicans exercising a backbone for once in their life and saying, no, it's dead on arrival. But unfortunately, right, we still don't have a secure border, and Mike Johnson can't seem to find his balls to tell the Democrats, we're going to shut the government down if you don't secure the border. What do you think about this? What were your first thoughts upon seeing this 307-page bill of nonsense?
We're in a state of war. I mean, this is a hybrid war. You know, we're being hit from every side, whether it's death jabs or whether it's fentanyl coming over the border, whether it's, you know, sex change operations for children, and we're being hit like an octopus on acid, right? You know, the hydra that's coming out, it can be defeated, but it requires people to stand up and, first of all, do not consent, do not comply, start throwing gear into the machinery of the beast. You know, ultimately, if you actually start to resist it, just the act of ignoring them takes away a considerable amount of their power, right? Like, you know, not taking the jab, you know, and not even arguing about it, right? And likewise with this border, there is no border. I mean, they're flying them in as well. They're flying every day. They're flying in people using the CBP1 app from Colombia, Guatemala, and other places. So they can just fill out an app on there. In fact, when we're down there, you can ask some of the aliens, do you have an app on your phone? And some will show you their IOM app. Some of the Chinese, the ones who will talk, will. Anyway, wait till you get there. So a lot of the people actually don't even go through Darien, by the way. They'll fly up to Mexico and go, like a lot of the Chinese, they'll go to Cancun and go on vacation, literally, and meet their snakeheads in Cancun. Snakeheads is the Chinese term for coyotes, right? And so they'll meet their coyotes up or their snakeheads. Yeah. So a lot of them will just bypass it all, or they'll go to Canada, right?
And these are mostly military-aged men. And these are, would you say, with the Chinese, mostly military-aged men? Would you even go as far as saying, I mean, we have evidence of this as well. Would you say that majority of them are Chinese communist spies? I mean, we already know that they're sending in spies through the border. So, it's not like they can say that there's no evidence of communist spies coming across our border. Even in Florida and Palm Beach, they had a couple years ago, I remember when I was running for Congress in Palm Beach, there was a story about a raft of Chinese migrants that made their way onto the beach. And some of them tried making their way towards Mar-a-Lago. And it turns out that they were Chinese communist spies. They were actual spies that were trying to somehow get onto the property of Mar-a-Lago. So do you think that majority of these Chinese men that are coming through the border are spies?
Well, I mean, wait till you see what you see. I mean, the 60 Minutes just did their little thing on the border. And it made it, I don't know if you just
I saw that with the
TikTok,
with the TikTok apps and the maps. But do you think that these are just military-aged men who are trying to come here to get in illegally? Or would you say that most of the Chinese that are coming in are part of a spy network? I mean, what would you say? Because we know that China is trying to.
Let me unwrap this. I mean, I'm out with them a lot, and so I can go into some great detail on this. Actually, I mean, I can go for hours.
Yeah,
so
well,
I'll try to
you're here.
This.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah. So on the 60 Minutes thing, of course, they point the camera at the pretty girls and women and that sort of thing, and the children. And there's obviously a lot of military-age males coming in. But when you go to Darien with me, you're going to see mostly military-age males. Now, we met someone about a year ago. Yeah, it was less than a year. I think it was last June. His name was Lushan Zhao, as it turns out. Now, he had come in. You'll see when we get down there. I won't talk about a lot of it now, but he came in at nighttime, and the next thing you know, we talked with him for an hour and a half. I think he probably was a spy. He was itching, and people will say spies will never talk with you. That's nonsense. They don't know anything about spies. Spies will talk with you, and just like police will talk with other police when they're being arrested, and then and make their case worse. Or lawyers get arrested and they start talking with the police and make their case worse. Spies do the same thing. And so they'll try to, talk their way out of it or do spy versus spy stuff. But we met this guy going into China camp I think it was June, and his name was Lushan Zhao. We got one of his IDs back from China, by the way. But anyway, Lushan Zhao got very angry. He was itching. He had just come through a village that you're going to go to. It has this sort of bug that the Indians called morangoi. I hate those things. And, they make you itch terribly. He was itching. He was obviously hungry. So anyway, and he became quite angry when he saw us filming. Now, when somebody's in an emotional state like that, if you can get them calmed down, they will often continue to talk, which he did. He seemed to be quite dangerous in the beginning. We got him calmed down.
Your husband.
Chinese embassy in Bahamas. Now, he said he bought a boat in Nassau for $5,000 from a Scotsman, and he was heading to Florida. And he said he was with his father, and he ran out of fuel. Now, we were able to confirm, and he said the U.S. Coast Guard picked him up. He said he was lucky that the Coast Guard picked him up because, and his English was completely fluent, by the way, and his body language was actually pretty good, but it was off a little bit. But he actually, they have they have a school for this, a spy school in a place called Luoyang, China. It's an MSS school, Ministry of State Security. That's their CIA, right? And then they have MPS, which is the Ministry of Public Security, which is like their FBI. Those are the ones who run the police stations like in New York. But in any case, to me, he came across as probably MSS. His English was very good. His body language was pretty doggone good. And he said that, he was coming to China. He felt like he was American on the inside and that sort of thing. And anyway, he was heading to Florida, got picked up by the Coast Guard because he ran out of fuel. He got deported somehow back to Bahamas, and the Coast Guard did confirm they did pick him up. We were able to confirm that, so that's a fact. So then the Bahamas was deporting him to China, he told us, and then he was connecting flights in Cuba. From Cuba, he changed his flight, he told us, and then he flew to Quito, Ecuador, which is where most of the Chinese start in South America when they're coming through the Darien Gap. The vast majority start in Quito, Ecuador. Anthony Rubin was down there recently tracking the whole trail down. Anyway, so Anthony stayed in the hotels that they stay in, went through the Darien Gap with the Chinese. And anyway, bottom line is Liu Shanjiao then went the Chinese route. And I don't know if you've seen the videos of how the Chinese come through basically on vacation through Darien Gap, because they take easier routes. It costs more money, but they get through quickly and easier. The women don't get raped, they don't get killed, they don't get robbed. The
video I saw
came through that route.
The video I saw was the little cartoon with cartoon music on TikTok showing them how to traverse the Darien Gap. I mean, that's just really disturbing to me, because I don't use TikTok. I refuse to use TikTok. But that's wild that this is just out there. I mean, you have this Chinese app, and they're actually teaching people on this app that is used by billions of people how to cross into a country illegally.
Our China team found that video and some others. I'll give them to you when I see you. I mean, it's just like,
it's out of control.
It's like an avalanche of stuff, but the Chinese are very organized. A lot of the aliens who come through, they're like Planet of the Apes, helter skelter, right?
Right.
They're just organized. They're just like hit the jungle. They don't have as much money. They take the hard route. They fall off the mountain of death and die, and they die in the 4 crossings and the rivers and disappear out there all the time. I mean, a lot. You'll see what I mean. But the Chinese, they're squared away. They've got an ecosystem within an ecosystem. And actually, the vast majority of the Chinese, they go to China Camp. They go to the one right beside Highest, the one that the Mayorkas went to on April 18th, 2022. I was there. He came there to expand the camp, which he's done. And that's the one that most of the Chinese use. The trailers that you see in China Camp, again, they call it San Vicente down there, but the trailers in China Camp are made in China. So they were bought with American money, and they're staying in trailers, nice trailers, like the kinds that I stayed in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? They're actually quite nice, and so, they're coming in. It's literally a vacation for the Chinese. And when they get up on the Mexican side, they pay the cartels more. And you'll see the Chinese coming across at Yuma or San Diego or McAllen or whatever, especially over in Arizona and California. Look at them. They're smiling. Their shoes are nice. Because they pay the cartels more money, and the cartels make sure they get through. There's numerous cartels, of course. And that's what they do down in Colombia and the rest of the place too. So for the Chinese, it is like a vacation. It's like those adventure vacations I used to go on in Nepal when I went to, Mount Everest and things like that. Is it a little bit hard? Yeah, but it's fun, and that's the Chinese. They come out smiling and laughing. But not the others. They come out. You're going to see people coming out wounded. You're going to see people coming out being carried at some of the other routes that they take. And you're going to hear stories like every 10 minutes of people that died yesterday and that sort of thing. Actually, you'll see a very gross disparity between the Chinese that have money and the Syrians that have money and some of the others that have money who come through the easy route versus the ones who come through the low grade route, which, over the mountain of death.
And you found some dead bodies, right? I've seen some videos. And have you ever encounter human remains when you're out there?
I haven't on the route because I haven't actually crossed through the Darien Gap. I've gone through many parts of it, like on the Colombian side, just a little bit actually, because I went on the Masako Ganaha and Chuck Holton and I went through a part of it on the Colombian. Very dangerous over there. And then we came through, I've done different parts on the Panamanian side, but I haven't crossed over. Keep in mind, I'm not out there for adventure tourism. There are people that have done important work going through the gap, like Anthony Rubin has done, and others. But I'm more about the intelligence of what's going on. I'm more about Are they building up the camps? Yes, they are building up the camps. Are they adding new buses? Yes, they've gone from 60 to about 200. How are the rates of flow and that sort of thing? Who are the people coming in? So I'm not there for actually to go rummage around in the jungle. I do that all the time anyway. But yeah, every day the people that you see will be they're going to talk about, you know, the rapes and murders that they saw, you know, that day and the day before, right?
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely a humanitarian crisis, and that's why when you see the Democrats talking about open borders, the most inhumane thing you can do is push for open borders and advocate for illegal immigration, because so many innocent people are being killed. And when I say innocent people, I'm talking about, you know, not everybody who goes through this path, right, or traverses the Darien Gap or the southern border is a willing participant. You know, they're not all there because they want to be there. You have people that are being trafficked. You have children that have no other choice because they're being dragged along by their parents. And these people become casualties. And it's these Democrats and even the Republicans that are voting in favor of these open borders bills, they are literally not just getting Americans killed, but they're getting innocent people, innocent women and children killed. They're subjecting women and children to heinous crimes, as you know. I mean, I don't need to tell you, you know, but it's just the gaslighting that we see from these Democrats talking about how, oh, it's the Republicans, they're so racist, and oh, they just hate migrants, and you know, they don't like brown people, they don't like black people, they don't want people having a better life. These are not people, as you just said. There's a really big discrepancy between the amount of resources that some of these people have when they're making this trek. And it's because a lot of these people are supported and propped up by foreign governments. If you're a spy, you're obviously going to be well funded. If you are a member of a cartel organization, you're going to be well funded because they have an interest in making sure that you get there. But there are a lot of people, right, as you just highlighted, who, you know, they don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have money. They aren't there for anybody aside themselves, and they die. And I've seen videos, maybe not your videos, but I have seen videos. I believe it was a video from Ben Bergquam where they found a skull in the Darien Gap. So you have human remains that decompose. And I know that there are videos out there of human remains that have been found by people who have gone out there, whether they be, you know, like completely decomposed or, you know, bodies that are just rotting. No one's going to go save you out in the middle of the jungle.
Oh, no. In fact, I think Senate Front said they pulled out 26 this last week, I think.
Oh, he froze. Well, his connection's a little...
Oh,
it's okay. No, you're back. So you were saying Senate Front pulled out 26 and then you froze.
I think they said they pulled out 26 in the last week. That's not, and for everyone they pull out, there's a lot more. I mean, when you come out, if you ask people, did they see dead bodies? A lot of them will show you photos and videos. I mean, that's a daily sort of thing. It's actually, you know, out in the jungle, the murder rate's high. There's also contaminated water. There are people that just get sick out there and die. There's many, they'll go to sleep with their shoes on and they end up with trench foot. And that's, I mean, trench foot will straight up be lethal, right? Especially when it strands you in the jungle. There's people, you'll hear stories of people
Explain
out there,
to people what trench foot is.
in the jungle. Trench foot is caused when you keep your feet just wet. You keep them in your shoes or in your boots, and you never give them a chance to dry out. I mean, we've lost entire military units in other wars, not in recent wars, from trench foot. In fact, I found a book from 1918 on I was researching socks actually, and so I found this book. It was a manual, or a sort of a manual, more of a study for the U.S. Army footwear for World War I, and trench foot was #1 enemy, right? And so they were, you know, experimenting with which types of socks, wool, of course, and wool's the Mac Daddy of everything. I'm Mr. Wool, you know, and so but a lot of the people, they don't realize you need to dry out your feet. And if you go to sleep with your shoes on, they're afraid to take their shoes off. You'll end up with trench foot for sure. And so there's a lot of people that out there, they just can't go any further. Their feet are infected. You'll see some of this. You'll see some of the people that make it through. Their feet are horrific. But others are stuck out there. So they're out there in the jungle begging, and they fall off cliffs. One guy, I call him 22 days. But he lived in Ecuador.
Oh, You froze up again. Your connection, Michael. You said one
sorry.
guy. It's all right. Your connection keeps cutting out. You said one guy. You call him 22 days, and then it cut out. If you want to continue from where you were speaking, one guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, this one Anthony Rubin just sent me a message. He's gone through the gap. You should meet Anthony. He's unbelievable. And so, an interesting thing. 22 days. So Biden was elected, and so he had married this Cuban wife. I think he was from Lebanon. Anyway, but he'd lived in Ecuador for some years, and he told me he married this Cuban wife, and she had family in Dallas, as I recall. And as soon as Biden thing, and she took to the route, and so he took off after her, right? And so he's going. This story is pretty amazing. So he ends up out there for 22 days. She left him behind. So he fell out. He's like, Michael, never marry the Cuban wife, and he's going crazy, And he goes, so I'm falling, and
Well, so they went out. So they they tried to go through the Darien Gap together, and then he got injured, and then she abandoned him in the middle of the jungle. You're saying, and then he was out there by himself for 22 days.
Oh, it was more so than that. Like, she just left him behind before he was injured. Then he fell down, and then he fell down this hill, and he couldn't get up. It was slippery. He said, the black birds, the big ones, they were waiting for me, And he goes, and he goes, so I said, were the mosquitoes bad? He said, yes. The perfume of my wife, my Cuban wife, I was putting this on me, and it was making it worse. More mosquitoes came. I'm like, this is like a bad movie. He goes, then the big black people came. He's like, all the Latin people were leaving me, but the big black people came. These Haitians came, actually. You hear a lot of bad stories about Haitians doing things out there, but I hear a lot of rescue stories. Whenever you hear, like when you're out there, you're going to hear stories about people getting rescued. There's a high chance that their rescuers were actually Haitians. I hear so many Haitians. He's like, the big black ones came. 2 days, he said, the Haitians, the large black ones. And then he said, but they prayed for me and left me in the jungle because they had to keep going and wished me luck. So he keeps going. And then now he's still having more problems. He said some more big black ones came. They were from Congo, and they stayed with him for 2 days as well. So he had been stuck down in that where he fell down that was like his 11th day when they finally got him out. So anyway, he continues to go. Then they start getting, the Congolese stayed with him for I think they were from Congo, stayed with him for 2 days as well, gave him food and prayed for him, and then also said, wished him luck. So now he's getting further in, and then some bandits came and actually raped a woman in front of him and killed her. And so he was crying and telling the story. And then some Indians came, Imbra Indians, that you're going to meet, actually, this tribe, and saved him and took him in a boat and took him to Bajo Chiquito village, where you're going to go to Bajo Chiquito village. You're going to go to the village where he emerged from. So, I mean, you'll hear stories like this on a common basis. And then I said, are you going to, he ended up in Nicaragua with no passport. And long story short, he said, I am finished with this Cuban wife. I'm going back to Ecuador. I'm not going to America. And so he went back to Ecuador. I haven't heard from him in maybe a year. I should message him.
Wow.
But he had quite an adventure.
All of these stories are going to make my parents feel so happy. Like I get so busy throughout the day that sometimes I don't even get to like catch up with them until they watch my show or see my Twitter. And then they're like, oh, when were you planning on telling us? They're going to like hear all these rape and murder stories. And I'm like, surprise, I was going to tell you where I was going to go, but I just got busy.
You're going to be safe.
I know. I just think it's interesting. I know I'm going to get a phone call at 2:00 in the morning when I get home tonight, because my parents are out in Arizona in the other time zone, and they're going to be like screaming on the other end of the line. But it's fine. I'm not afraid. More people should go. Yeah.
You're going to be with Panamanian Cinefront. They are incredibly professional. They're super fit. They're very, I mean, when Oscar Blue and Ben Bergquam got in that firefight, they were out with Cinefront, and Cinefront lit them up, and and they're just super professional. Like we're going to be out with Cinefront, you will be very safe. In
oh
fact,
no, I'm confident about that. I'm
yeah.
not nervous at all. I'm really looking forward to this, but it's it's horrific, right? This is some of the stuff. That's why you were telling me about your friend you just mentioned who's actually going through.
Anthony is back now. He just put up a little mini documentary. He went through the Darien Gap with the Chinese and Syrians. You should see it. And then he got kidnapped. He met with me up in Guatemala on the way through Mexico.
I watched it. I saw it actually, and he posted it on. He posted it. He got kidnapped by the cartels, and then he ended up going on the death train, and he did the entire trek.
Today he was inside some of those, facilities up in New York and he was in the tents with them. Right. And so, it's amazing what he just published earlier today. And so, yeah, Anthony Rubin, it's on muckraker.com. He just published it hours ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I tweeted that too. And he's doing great work. And I saw the documentary that he published as well. I mean, it's incredible, the story. He's lucky to be alive, honestly.
He is. He's a
After
stud,
getting
man. He's a stud, and he's Jewish. And I'm like, whatever you do, don't give any hint that you're Jewish around out those Syrians and whatnot. Of course, he didn't. But and Anthony and I, he wanted to go to the Darien Gap, and there's not many people I'll actually take down there. But I took him because he's very intelligent. He's hardcore. And then we went across a great deal of the southern border together from Texas to California. And then he got this document, 200 pages in Mandarin, which he got translated to English. And then he took that document shows the Chinese how to get through the Darien Gap, where to stay, what hotels, and that sort of thing. So Anthony got it translated to English, flew back down to Quito, Ecuador, and he went right through their entire ecosystem, went through the Darien Gap, and then later he got kidnapped in Mexico, and now he's messaging me right now, but he's quite an amazing young man. He's only 26. I say young man, he's a total man at this point, but he's just he's ready, man. He's defending this country.
Yeah, he's impressive. I think it's really ballsy. A lot of people just don't have the courage to go out there, right? And that's why I'm excited to go. I mean, look, a lot of people say, "Oh, are you crazy?" And why are you going out there? And I think it's because people need to see this. People only talk about the border in the sense of, the Mexican border and Texas and what's going on in Arizona right now. And I think that this is, well, that's compelling, but I think that this is even more compelling. And if I can use my platform, because what's the purpose of having a large platform if I'm not going to utilize it to open people's eyes and to bring, light to darkness and expose the truth about what's happening? People need to see this because the media isn't going in. They're not showing people. For all these, multimedia organizations that are extremely well funded, you'd be thinking that more of them would be sending crews in there to document this insanity, but you really don't see it. So I'm just really honored that you have, allowed for me to go with you. Cause like you said, you don't really bring a lot of people and you don't really take a lot of people. I can see you. It's fine.
Okay.
So I'm really grateful that you have agreed to take me because like you just said, you don't really take a lot of people down there, and so it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm really honored that I will be able to tell this story through a camera and through my platform, and hopefully change people's minds and open eyes about what's going on, and do this alongside you, somebody who I admire greatly.
I've wanted you to go for a while, as you know, and so this is it. You're going to do it, and you're going to see some amazing things, and then I want to hear how it looks to you when it's done, because I learn a lot when I take out people like you, like Brett Weinstein and Dr. Martinson, because then you get to see it from a fresh set of eyes and a different set of experiences, and then you'll end up, the reflections that you take away from this will be helpful for me in filling some gaps out that I always miss.
Yeah,
actually, one thing I've noticed, by the way, is women always see stuff that men just don't see. It's unbelievable how much women see that men will be there looking at something for 6 months, and a woman will come in and say, "Well, what about this?" You're like, "Okay."
Wow. Well, yeah, and that is true. Like I was saying earlier, before I had Tom Homan on too, I was telling people that, messaged me a couple months ago, and that's when we first started communicating. And I had said to you, I'm doing coverage right now of all the primaries, and so when I'm done with all of that, because my main goal is getting President Trump elected, and he's the only person that's going to help fix this issue, right? He's the only person that is going to close the border and do what needs to be done to end this invasion. And so I've been, traveling around the country, going to the different events at the Iowa caucus, in New Hampshire for the primary. And, I felt a little guilty saying, oh, well, I'm going to skip out on South Carolina because I had told people that I was going to go to South Carolina. But I've just been horrified watching the way the Republicans want to just sell our country out. And they were about to, if it weren't for just massive crowdsourced outrage on X and other social media sites about just how disastrous this border bill was going to be, we would have actually had this, and Republicans would have allowed it. Social media has really transformed the outrage machine, and it has allowed people to hold their representatives accountable. And so I made the decision, days ago when we were talking, I said, I am just going to cancel my trip to South Carolina. Trump's going to win. And I think it's more important that I fly to Panama. And that's what I'm going to do, because it needs to be done.
Nikki Haley's a nothing. And if Trump gets elected.
Oh, you're
in helping him
your
sell
connection,
the policy.
Your connection cut out. What were you saying? You said if Trump gets elected?
If Trump gets elected, some of the things that you learn will be vital in helping him sell the policy of we need to do mass deportations and how we shut this thing off, because it can easily be shut off. Actually, it's not difficult. It just takes, like you said, balls. It takes balls, will, and know which switches to hit. And we know which switches to hit. And Trump will do it. We need to help him sell it if he gets elected, and to the people, because it is going to be an uphill battle. As you know, a lot of people are going to be angry, like they always do. They can go crazy, but the bottom line is, I don't care. I mean, we need to do mass deportations. I mean, tens of millions, cutting off all funds to them. If they get hurt in an accident, then they get deported. These are fights that have happened forever. Like in California, you can't deport people that come in for a thing. And I'm like, why not? I mean, it's time to start doing those sorts of things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we absolutely need to secure our border, and President Trump is the only one that's going to get that done. And so you're absolutely right. And as somebody, I'm not an official surrogate in the sense that, I don't speak for the campaign, but I certainly have a large enough platform, and I, support President Trump enough to, to be a voice that the media listens to and people listen to as a very outspoken Trump supporter. And so I'm really grateful that I'm going to be able to go to Panama and, experience the Darien Gap with you and be able to, even shed even more insight onto this. And then, bring a camera crew with me and have footage that we can bring back and show people, because you hear a lot of stories. Everybody has a story, right? But, like you said, every time people go, there's new stories, there's new perspectives, and you never know what you're going to see. I think that you, of all people, can testify to that, right? I mean, you've probably seen a lot of crazy things in all of your years covering the border and being a war correspondent and a combat correspondent, but you never know what's going to happen or what you're going to see. And I've learned from my years as a journalist, too, all it takes is one viral moment. One moment with something so obscene and so over the top that it creates a movement and it makes people change their mind. It's a major wake up moment. I think that Anthony's documentary that he just did is a major wake up moment for people too. And you just never know what's going to resonate with people. And I'm really just looking forward to going out there and, like I said, bringing people the truth and hopefully leading people to see the light that Trump is the answer if we want to shut this border down and then stop this invasion and stop what is not only the biggest national security threat, in my opinion, facing our country, but also this is not humane. This is a humanitarian crisis. And if the Democrats truly care about vulnerable populations like they claim, they need to shut the border down. How many more people are they willing to sacrifice and let die for their open borders policies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, shut the border and deport. I mean, and
mass deportations.
All these people. Oh, yeah. And
I'm in favor of a mass. You know what I'm in favor of? And I campaigned on this, and I don't know if you are. I don't want legal immigration or illegal immigration. I'm in favor of a 20-year minimum immigration moratorium. I don't know how you feel about an immigration moratorium, but I think the situation is so severe right now that we need a 20-year minimum immigration moratorium.
I would set the bar very tight. I mean, I wouldn't keep everybody out, but I would definitely make it super tight. Only people that will benefit the United States. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty of other countries you can go to. We have to save the United
States. Yeah. No, we absolutely need to save this country. And the only way that we're going to save this country is through closing our borders. Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Yep, shut the borders and mass deportations. I'm all for it. I mean, we have to do it. I mean, we're on fire. I mean, quite literally on fire at this point. We also need to go after the people that have been involved in the child trafficking and the human smuggling. We know a lot of their names. I mean, those names are widely known among law enforcement as well. We have thousands of names of people that were involved in the human smuggling. Those people should be charged and put in prison. And that includes people that work for places like Catholic Charities. There's many Catholic Charities, by the way. It's not just one. There might be a dozen or so just in Florida, right? Different branches of it, right? Incorporated in different ways. But the bottom line is we know a lot of their actual names, and those people should be charged with human smuggling and everything else that goes along with that. You know, you start putting a few of those people in prison, and a lot of the others will think this is not fun anymore.
Oh, I agree. And all these, you know, we need to start putting a name to the faces and faces to the names of these NGO officials who are doing this. I mean, we can make these people famous, right? And when I say make them famous, not in a good way. They're not going to be famous in the way that they want to be famous. And a lot of people, they're just completely unaware of all these different organizations. They disguise themselves like Red Cross, HIAS, Catholic Charities, right? You think that it's a manipulation of semantics. You think that they're doing a charity work or that they're doing humanitarian work when really, at the end of the day, all these people are doing is, you know, you could call it modern day human trafficking or human smuggling. They are facilitating this invasion of our country, and they seem to think that they're doing charity work. It's really, I have no other word for it other than just disgusting. It's depraved, especially the fact that they're using religion to disguise or cloak human trafficking. Catholic Charities, HIAS, the Jewish organization, right? These are not religious,
Lutherans
moral
too.
people.
Yeah,
These
Lutherans
are
too.
demonic people. Whether you are a member of Catholic Charities or you are a Jew in HIAS, this is demonic energy. These are demonic people that are facilitating some of the most egregious and most inhumane actions against vulnerable populations that I've ever seen in my life. And not just, when I say vulnerable populations, I'm talking about the innocent women and children. And then, of course, you have the more sinister element of it, in which they're running cover for some of the most dangerous people on this planet, actual terrorists and human traffickers and drug smugglers.
Hezbollah. I mean, again, the bombing in 1994 in Panama, and there's again significant Hezbollah presence in Venezuela. Keep in mind, Venezuela has a close relationship with Iran, a close relationship with Russia, and with China, right? And Venezuela does not like the United States. The leadership doesn't, and they are helping and facilitating the invasion of the United States with Venezuelan criminals, which you'll see tattoos on their faces, like AK-47, that sort of stuff. You'll see a lot of gangster types. I mean, like straight up thugs. And then you'll see.
Yeah, well, we're going to see a lot of probably
soldiers.
Yeah, we're going to see your connection, unfortunately, keeps on cutting out. I don't know if you're able to adjust it at all, but it keeps freezing up. But essentially what he was saying, Michael's saying, is that there are a lot of actual gangsters. And do you ever find that these people are armed? Or, I mean, you're traveling with security when you're out there, and you have, I guess, their version of border patrol or border security. But how are there gunfights that ever break out with opposing gangs, or do you ever see any of that when you're out there?
I haven't. Oscar Blue and Ben Berkwam were going through the Gap one time, and they got into a minor firefight. It was a little skirmish.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's definitely very dangerous terrain, and I'm looking forward to.
That was deep in the Gap. You're not going to be out into that. You're not going to be in that actual area.
Okay, great. Well, Michael, anything else that you want to say? I wanted to, have you on the show to talk about this and to make this announcement that I will be joining you out there in Panama in the Darien Gap in the next coming weeks. Anything else? Maybe we should go to the chat and take a couple of questions because we do have a lot of your fans. Yep. You have a lot of fans in the chat. Let's see. Any questions for Michael? Let's see. Scroll up a bit because you have a lot of nice comments in here. Let's see.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Someone said, Michael, you need to talk to Trump. Have you ever briefed President Trump or had a meeting with President Trump about your findings or President Trump's team?
No, but it seems like I know a lot of people in his immediate ecosystem, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
I mean, not seems like, I definitely do, but yeah. I've never asked to talk with him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, one of the comments was that people think that you need to get in front of Trump. That's great. Let's see.
I think the information that we can.
Let's see what else.
I don't need to talk with him for that, but I would need to talk with his people that be in charge of doing it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you're able to speak with his people and speak with his team and hopefully speak with him someday too, because I think that you have a lot of important insight and your journalism and your investigative work out there in the Darien Gap has been phenomenal. And especially as it relates to Chinese subversion of our country. So I think you're doing incredible work and I'm just excited. I'm so excited to be able to join you in the next 2 weeks.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And then there's the Panama Canal part. Wait until you see that as well. So we didn't even talk about that, but we should talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that we'll be able to talk about that when I'm out there because the connection is a little bit choppy. And so it keeps on cutting off every other word that you say. But like I said, I'm going to be out there and we're going to be able to do sit down interviews. And I think that it would be really great to do a sit down interview with you while I'm out there in Panama. And then we can share all of your knowledge with my audience. Anything else you want to say? Any last closing thoughts, comments?
We are Americans and our ancestors have been through a lot of stuff, right? To build this country and many wars and that sort of thing. And we're facing a crisis right now that we have to win, bottom line. And that means everybody needs to get deadly serious. I mean, because it's on. And people often ask, well, when are we going to have to do something? Okay, we're past that point. We have passed the Rubicon. We have already passed a critical mass of people into the country, which will end up destroying the country. We must do mass deportations. If
Absolutely.
Trump is in office, we must support him 100% in getting tens of millions of people on the airplanes and on the buses, ships, out. Sad stories, bye. Get out.
Yeah, look, everybody has a sob story, but what about all the Americans who have sob stories, right? What about all the struggling families and the homeless veterans and the single parents and, the people that are dying from cancer, the seniors on fixed incomes? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry because I don't really care, but I don't really give a shit about your immigrant sob story. I don't. And that's the mentality that every single lawmaker needs to have, Michael. I don't know if you agree with me, but until we start getting lawmakers that say, I don't give a shit about your sob story because I want to hear the sob story of the homeless vet. We have 22 veterans today that are killing themselves in this country because they can't get basic services. We have seniors that are having to leave Florida where, it's a retirement area here in the state of Florida where I live because they can't afford to live on their Social Security anymore. And Americans in Maui get checks of $700. Americans during COVID get checks of $600. And these illegals are getting checks of $1,000. I just don't give a shit. I don't about these sob stories from these illegals. Everybody has a tough life. Every single American has a sob story, and it's not our fault that some people were born in the third world and others weren't. Because I'll tell you right now, America's now a third world country. So every single child that's being born into this country is inheriting millions of dollars of debt, even though, a child coming out of the womb should not have any debts to anyone, right? But when you actually calculate the national debt and you break it down per the population of the United States of America, that child is going to have a sob story too. Look at the home ownership rates that are decreasing substantially across this country because people cannot afford to live. People cannot afford to eat. People cannot afford to put gas into their cars. So the next time I see another Republican tell me that we need to have humanity for the illegal aliens, or, be concerned about their desire to have new shoes or a new iPhone or whatever the hell it is that our United States government is paying for these invaders to have, I'm just going to say, get the hell out of government, because if you don't care about Americans and you want to spend your time as a lawmaker talking about some illegal alien criminal sob story, you're not fit. You're not fit to serve now or ever.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. That's why I want you to come down. I mean, we need to, I want you to be armed with as much information as possible so that when you go into battle, you are very, able, you've got all the footage, you've got all the memories,
Absolutely.
You've got a larger ecosystem of people that you can draw on for more current information, because that's one of the things you'll pick up when you're down there. You're going to get to know a lot of key people so that you're going to be able to get updates from Panama at your own whim. You won't need to go through me. You'll be able to go direct. I'm going to totally dial you in and plug you into this network.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I'm excited, and I'm going to be, creating a page for my followers and my supporters to follow along, just like I did with all of my other trips. And so I will be out there in the next 2 weeks or so, and wanted to announce this to all of you tonight. So all of you, be sure that you're following Michael Yon. It's at Michael Yon on Twitter, correct? And then where else can people follow you, Michael?
I'm also on Substack and locals.com, but I'm on X pretty much daily. And a lot of times I just do interviews like today. I was on Alex Jones. I'll be on Tucker soon. When you and I get finished, I'll go on the Tucker show there. And he's going to come back from Russia. I can't wait to see what he got in Russia. I mean, he's driving.
Amazing.
I was with Alex, I was on Alex today, and Alex is texting Tucker, and then he's like, "Hey, just texted back," and he was in Russia, and he's causing everybody's heads to explode because he went to. I
wow,
can't wait to see this,
that's pretty neat. So the media's heads are going to explode now. They're going to say not only was traitor Tucker Carlson interviewing Vladimir Putin in Russia, but he was also texting Alex Jones at the same time. Yeah, I know, right? They're going to go crazy. But look, people need to know. People need to know, because all of this is tied in directly. I'm sure that, people need to understand Hamas and Hezbollah, these people that are coming in through the Darien Gap that are invading our country, they are receiving weapons from the Ukrainians. People don't know this, but the Ukrainians were giving weapons to these Hamas and Hezbollah operatives. If you go and you watch some of these videos from October 7th and you see some of the GoPro footage and you see some of the footage that was filmed by these jihadists who massacred Israelis, the weapons come from Ukraine, and you actually hear these jihadists talking. I don't know if you've seen these videos. I'm happy to send them to you. Talking openly.
I do want to see them.
Talking openly about how they got these weapons, like the grenades and the rocket launchers, from Ukraine. So our money, right, is being used to send weapons overseas to Ukraine, and then these weapons are somehow, I don't know who's giving it to them, whether it's the Russians or the Ukrainians, right? Somehow they're getting these weapons of war that are, intended for use by the Ukrainians, and these weapons are being used by jihadists to massacre innocent Jews in Israel. So it all comes together full circle, right? And that's why Tucker Carlson interviewing Vladimir Putin is a good thing for the world. It's a good thing for our country, and it's a good thing for journalism, because we need to have more conversations, not less.
Yeah, that's amazing that Tucker has gone over to see him. I was communicating with some people on his team. They're like, he's on vacation. I was like, but then today, and Tucker got out today. Of course, he's published it, or he did a video hit saying that. I just can't wait to see it. Actually, there's no telling what's going to come out of that.
Oh, it's great. It's going to be amazing.
I hope he'll go see the man boy Zelensky. I mean, that guy's such an idiot. I'm going to tell you some stuff when we get to Darien. You're going to be amazed at some of the stuff I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. And so 100%, when Tucker gets back from interviewing Vladimir Putin, you're scheduled to go on his show?
Yeah. When you and I finish, I'll head back to the United States and go on with Tucker. Yep.
Amazing. Well, it's an honor. It's an honor to be able to go with you before you head out for your interview with Tucker Carlson as well, because you're obviously a hot commodity right now. Everybody wants to talk to you. And the interview that Brett Weinstein did with Tucker, too, after you escorted him through the Darien Gap, it's incredible. So it's really amazing the work that you're doing. And you're not, it's not like you're getting paid for this either. You are using your own time and your own resources to bring people into a very dangerous area, right? Risking your own health, risking your own safety to bring truth to the American people. So how do people support you if they want to support the work you're doing? Because I'm sure that it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. I was just talking with Doc Chambers today, the Green Beret doctor. I was on with Alex Jones. I said, a problem that I have is I am, in the culture that I came from, I don't like to ask for money, but everything that I've done for the last, for the last 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these other conflicts I've been in, it's all been user supported. I mean, all of it. I mean, I don't get paid by the government or anybody like that. I don't, and a lot of people have wanted to hire me, and I've always said, no, I don't want to go. I got to retain my independence. So it's just donations like on locals.com or PayPal, or Coinbase, by the way, seized my account. Weirdly,
I saw that the other day. I saw Coinbase seized your account. Yeah. That's really interesting. So are you going to be able to get your funds back, or what do you think is going to happen with your Coinbase?
Well, if I don't get my funds back, I'll certainly get a pound of flesh from them, because, I've done this before. When people do things like this, I'm like, well, I mean, you might keep my money. I'll give you 100 times that value in bad press. I mean, again, I mean, you and I and others, we reach millions of people. I mean, it's nothing for me to tell 10 million people that Coinbase took my account. I've already probably told several million. So, I mean, it's like, oh, keep my money, go ahead and have fun, and I'll just mention your name for the next year. Right. It's that simple.
Well, what's your PayPal and what's your locals for people that want to donate? Because I encourage everybody to go donate and support. Because I tell people all the time, right? If you enjoy this type of content, just like my supporters support me and they support Rumble and they support my sponsors, you have to support the independent journalists that are out there doing this. And a lot of people don't like asking for money. I don't like asking for money either, but you know what? I'm not funded by the mainstream media. And if people want to see me do these trips, right, my supporters support it. And I'm thankful that I have amazing people that believe in me and people believe in you. And I'm asking my audience to support your work as well. So where can people go to support this incredible work? Thank you very much.
You know what? I Venmo, PayPal, but you know what I'll do is when when we get offline, I'll put my support link on my X page. Okay. So I'll put it on the top of, I'll pin it to the top of it'll take me about 5 or 10 minutes and I'll put it up.
And what's your PayPal if you just want to use your username out? Because a lot of people, we're on the front page of Rumble right now. We have thousands of people watching, and you never know who's watching. I got a lot of people.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. It's my PayPal is my name, Michael_Yon, right? It's michael.yon@gmail.com. Michael.yon@gmail.com is my PayPal. Right.
Great. And we got it up on the screen there too.
And then I have Venmo and that sort of thing. Oh, thank you very much. That could be very helpful, actually.
What's your Venmo? Just get your shout out. What's your Venmo?
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to ask this.
Oh, I have it actually. I got it up here. It's at Yon-Michael. So we'll get it up here on the screen. We have it all up. Production team's pulling it up 10 steps ahead of me. So we have that up. So there's his
production team.
There's his Venmo. I'm banned on Venmo and PayPal. I got banned years ago on PayPal and Venmo, right? But you're not. So I encourage people who are not banned on PayPal.
I don't know why not.
Well, because they banned me, right? When you expose the one thing that you're not allowed to talk about, apparently, and I learned this at a very young age, you're not allowed to talk about the Islamic infiltration of America. That is the quickest way to get canceled on all social media. So that's why, I got banned everywhere, and I had been banned on all social media. And then when I started talking about immigration, actually, is when I got banned on PayPal and Venmo. when I started raising awareness about the government shutdown and the Democrats' refusal to fund the border wall, I actually brought illegal aliens to Nancy Pelosi's house in California, and I brought illegals from Mexico and Guatemala and pitched a tent on her lawn and
I
claimed
remember
sanctuary.
that. Didn't you go with Ben?
Yeah,
Did you go
Ben
with
and
Ben
I went together. We got arrested at Gavin Newsom's house too. So
that's right. He told me about that. Yeah, you're hardcore because I remember when Ben gives you the seal of approval. That's pretty serious.
So it's interesting because I was told that Nancy Pelosi's husband owns stock in PayPal, and then PayPal owns Venmo, as you know.
Oh.
And shortly after I put illegals on her lawn and, filmed a documentary of myself bringing these illegals to her house, I found myself banned on PayPal and Venmo. And there's the video here for people who want to watch it. It's like 20 minutes long, so I'll let people watch it on their own time. It's called Nancy Pelosi's Wall. But that was from 2019, and maybe we'll watch that one night in Panama or something. I'll text you the link. But you're doing great work.
Yeah.
I encourage all my supporters to support you. Make a donation to Michael if you can. Support him on Venmo. Support him on PayPal. I'm on Locals as well. So if you follow me on Locals, support Michael on Locals as well, because he's doing amazing work. And
I don't know if I'm frozen, but you're completely frozen.
No. I'm here. I can see you. We're just showing the full screen here so that everybody can see your payment platform. So, well, that's great.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I hope that people will donate, because you're doing great work. And a lot of people, they don't get credit for the things that they're doing. And that interview that Tucker Carlson did with Brett Weinstein the other day, that was a really big interview. And, Michael Yon didn't get a penny from that. And Michael Yon is the person that helped bring Brett out there. And, people are able to bring these stories to people with large platforms like Tucker Carlson and others out of just, the goodness of their heart and their desire to see the country fixed and national security protected. And millions of people's eyes were opened because of that interview. And you're going to be opening more people's eyes by bringing me out and doing your own interview with Tucker. And so I ask my audience to, donate whatever they can to support you.
Thanks, Laura. This is going to be one heck of a trip. Make sure you got your long sleeves on and your long pants, and we're out into the mosquitoes. There's not that many mosquitoes.
Oh, I'm ready. I got my bug spray. I got my hat, and I got my long pants. I'm prepped. So, and my hiking boots.
Good.
I'm good to go.
Good.
So, all right.
Thanks
well,
for
I
having
will
me on.
see you in Panama. I will see you in Panama in 2 weeks.
Yes.
It's going to be very exciting. Thank you so much
Yes.
for coming on my show tonight. Amazing insight, incredible work you're doing. And I'm sure that we will be making a lot of content together out there in the Darien Gap. So thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Yes.
Have a great night.
Bye, Laura. And
Bye.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So incredible. We had two amazing experts tonight, Michael Yon and Tom Homan. So incredible interviews. These men are doing incredible work. And so support Tom Homan, border911.com. Get tickets for his event. If you've never been to Mar-a-Lago and you want to go to an event, I believe they have tickets on the website. Make a contribution to Michael Yon. He's doing incredible work. And you're going to see a lot of that when I travel out there. So again, we wouldn't be able to do this work, just like you're supporting Michael. And I encourage all of you. I can't do the work I'm doing without sponsors. Thank you so much to all my sponsors and my supporters. I want to thank Goldco, the third sponsor of Loomer Unleashed tonight. As you know, the creation of these central bank digital currencies, or the digital dollar, has been really nothing but a headline up until now. But recently, you see the Biden administration, the illegitimate Biden administration, ordering for their creation, passing executive orders, developing these digital currencies at a rapid pace. And now you see President Trump talking about it with Vivek Ramaswamy on the campaign trail. And so it's definitely a hot topic. We were just talking about China with Michael Yon. One of the things that the Chinese are doing to control their population and also exert influence on the world is the social credit score. And one of the ways that they're doing this is through creating these digital currencies. Digital currencies can be used to track you, to monitor your funds, to shut you down. I mean, I just explained to you how I've been banned on PayPal and Venmo. Michael Yon just explained to you how he's being shut down as well. So you don't want to be using these digital currencies that are being developed by the banks to track you and monitor you. And that is why I have decided to partner with Goldco. Goldco has been a longtime sponsor of Loomer Unleashed. And so I encourage all of you to visit loomerlikesgold.com, loomerlikesgold.com. And right now, they are offering up to $10,000 in free silver. It's really important that you back up your wealth by investing in precious metals like gold and silver. I highly recommend it. Again, the website for how you can get involved with Goldco and back up your wealth and protect your wealth with precious metals like gold and silver is loomerlikesgold.com. That's loomerlikesgold.com. Be sure that when you sign up with Goldco or you contact Goldco, you tell them that Laura Loomer sent you. Again, that's loomerlikesgold.com. So thank you. Thank you to Goldco. Thank you to Field of Greens. Thank you to Genucell. Those are the sponsors of tonight's mega episode. I mean, we've been on since 8 o'clock at night. It's almost midnight, right? This is almost a 4-hour show, and I don't even feel tired. I don't know about all of you, but I feel energized knowing that we have such amazing patriots out there like Tom Homan, and we have people like Michael Yon who are fighting hard to bring the truth to the American people. And so I'm really excited that I was able to announce tonight that I'm going out to the Darien Gap, and I'm looking forward to being able to bring you guys amazing content over these next couple weeks. Let's see. We have some super chats tonight. Ricky Sky said, effing Republicans can't even impeach Mayorkas. Total effing losers. No more wasted votes until the MAGA party forms. Amen. Can't argue with that. Joe Patriot 69 said, hey, Laura, tomorrow I'm planning loomering. I'm loomering Nikki Haley in California. Amazing. Make sure you get it on video. I hope that they don't catch you now that you announced that in the super chats, but hopefully nobody knows what you look like, and get it on video. Get it on video. I don't know if we have any more. Let's see. Laura, I credit you with ousting Ronna Romney. Well, that's very nice. That's very flattering, but a lot of people have been doing a lot of work to expose Ronna Romney, not just me, but I just happen to be very loud and aggressive, so it helps, right? It helps. Someone said, Laura, you can talk. Very interesting. Yes, I can talk. I can talk nonstop. Some people like it. Some people hate it. One person said, Tom01 said, I can't believe how long it was. Went fast, though. Yeah, I've done shows on here before for 7 hours straight. We did a J6 telethon, so I made sure that I rested up this weekend because I had this amazing show planned. I spent my weekend trying to catch up on rest. I know that's not really possible, though. Catch up and try to plan this trip and then also plan this episode. And I was very excited when Tom Homan and Michael Yon both agreed because yes, it is a very long episode. If you're just tuning in, right, you could still retweet this live link, but all of this is going to be available for you in the stream afterwards. And so you can break it up and listen to it, right? Listen to it an hour at a time if you're just tuning in now, because this is really important information that you need to hear. This is really important information. The good doc said, Laura is hinting that she wants us to send her a solid gold bullhorn. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. I'd love to yell at people with a solid gold bullhorn. You see my bullhorn behind me, too. Ricky Sky said, I'm mad as hell and not going to vote anymore. Well, just vote for Donald Trump, and then you don't have to vote anymore. How about that? So we need to get Trump back in. Just vote for Trump. Let's see. Someone said, Riley CJ, I think you're amazing, doing very important work. Thank you. Laura, you should do some serious cardio and treadmill before the trip. Oh my God, are you calling me fat? Are you thinking I need to get into shape more? I can hike. I'm pretty thin. I'm probably the thinnest I've ever been right now. But I am definitely going to be, doing more work and, go for my walks and go to the gym. But I am in shape. I can keep up. You should see how fast I can run on a treadmill. Let's see. All right, so be sure that you download the Rumble app as well, because I see that we have thousands of live viewers tonight. Be sure that you download Rumble. Go to rumble.com/Loomer. That's where you can follow my channel, because if you're watching now, it's really important that you follow me. You'll notice I have about almost 830,000 followers on X, but I have 39,000 on Rumble. So I just started my show in October. I really would love to, to boost my following, because the more people that follow, the more people are able to get this information. So again, please, be sure that you're sending out this information to your friends. Post the link after the fact on your social media pages so people can watch it after the fact. At the bottom of my Rumble page, exit out of that, and you can see again, you'll see that there is a link that says Get Loomered. So after you click the follow button, you can click Get Loomered, and that's where you can support me on locals. I encourage you all to either sign up monthly for $7 a month or yearly for $70 a year, or you can also just give a one-time donation as well. So please be sure that you support my work, because this is how I'm able to do what I do. I will create a Give, Send, Go, of course, and people can support my trip and the expenses associated with it. That will be published in the next few days or so. But again, everything that I do is completely supported by the sponsors here. And also, the sponsors support me when you support them. You have to keep purchasing their products so that they come back. And also, donations from all of you, whether that be through monthly subscriptions, super chats, or just direct contributions on the site. If you're interested in reading about all of the FEC reports that my team and I and correspondent Charles Downs have been exposing, go to loomered.com. That's loomered.com. We have a lot of great articles that we didn't get to tonight just because I wanted to focus on immigration. But you can see that we have a lot of articles here about Ronna Romney, about Biden, about Nikki Haley, all of her finances. Coming up on Thursday, of course, news that you need to be aware of. We have the Supreme Court review of President Trump's ballot access case out of Colorado. So a lot is going to be happening over these next 48 hours that are really going to be defining the fate and the future of our country. So be sure that you catch up on all of this on loomered.com. And then also my news aggregation site, loomerreport.com, so that you can stay up to date every single day on all of the news around the world. So again, thank you so much. Download Rumble, subscribe on Rumble. It's free. Subscribe on Locals, loomer.locals.com. And lastly, be sure that you are following me on all social media. I post a lot of updates and reports throughout the day. And when I'm down in the Darien Gap, I'm going to be posting a lot of video clips on Rumble and also Twitter. And my articles on my website too. My Twitter is @LauraLoomer, and then follow me on Truth Social @LauraLoomer as well. I'm also on Getter and Gab @LauraLoomer, and then on Telegram @LoomeredOfficial. But with that, we have been streaming for about 4 hours straight now, and my production team is probably going to murder me if I don't let them go home now. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again for another episode of Loomer Unleashed. If you're new tonight and you're just watching for the first time, I do my show every Tuesday and Thursday live from 8 p.m. Eastern on Rumble. And so I will see you this Thursday for another episode of Loomer Unleashed. I really hope you all enjoyed the content and the guests on episode 26, and I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. Thanks so much, and have a great night.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist, by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems will be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chained herself to
She
Twitter.
chained her.